Constellation, Last Stand Media's conversational podcast, is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our podcast network, head to patreon.com/laststandmedia.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Constellation, Last Stand Media's conversational podcast. I'm your fill-in host, Chris Reagan, and I'm joined by Ben, and I'm joined by Gene. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right. Why are you just the fill-in host? Like you're like a semi-regular host now. You don't have to be a fill-in.
I don't know. This is the first word that came to mind. I figured I'd say
all right,
it.
that's fine. Yeah.
We were having some,
right,
Ben was having some technical issues a little bit before the show. His camera was freaking the fuck out, which is nice. It's always nice when technology does this.
I was telling the guys that I've had the camera plugged into the same spot for at least 6 months, and it's never been an issue. And all of a sudden, my computer decided it should be plugged into USB 3.2 instead of 3.1 for no reason.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's always something. Mm-hmm. It's always, I don't really understand how that could possibly be, because I feel like I leave my shit alone as much as humanly possible. I don't fuck with anything, you know. Mm-hmm. And then it always ends up, oh, this doesn't work anymore. Sorry, you've got to like move wires around, and it's just like I really don't get it. I don't understand I don't understand anything.
The best part is I think this camera was made before USB 3.2 was really in use, so I don't even know how it knew that it wanted that.
It's insane.
They patched it. That's what they always do, right?
I'm sure they did.
Stupid things. You know, we never really own our things. You know?
Thanks, Elgato.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
I haven't owned a car in 10 years, but I'm pretty sure they're patching cars now, right?
Oh yeah,
which is so fucked up. Yeah. Like, what if you get the patch that is like the bad one, you know? Like,
dude, I think about that all the time. Like because I think, isn't there like a thing now where cars will like be built with certain features, but like you have to subscribe to like a service to unlock them, even though they exist in the car?
Yeah, that's been a thing for a long time, but it's more prevalent now for sure. With
how long has it been? I feel like I only heard about that in like maybe like 2018, 2019.
I mean, there were cars in some capacity that had like unlockable features, but via satellite, OnStar and all that kind of stuff. Not just services, but actually, like things that you could use for probably 20 years.
That's upsetting. I hate that. I remember when I first heard about it with like seat warmers. Like you have to subscribe to like I don't know, Nissan Plus to unlock the seat warmers. And I was like, that is fucked. Absolutely under no circumstance.
My butt can be cold. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, if companies could have us subscribe to Air, they would, you know.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah, Air Plus. Be a nice little service. Gene, how are you doing?
Pretty good. I had a fun conversation. I feel like the audience also deserves to know. Chris, why do you have an alarmingly accurate replica or the actual thing of Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin mask in the background? Because I was like, is that new? Because I feel like I would have noticed that before.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I've never seen that before. Yeah. Like I've never seen that before.
I simply Chris. I just don't know what it is. I simply do not know what it is you're referring to. But that's an interesting observation, and I'll make note of it.
It's me imagining I'm the one having a monologue now with this mask.
Yeah. No, I saw. So I'm obviously like I'm a huge fan of the Raimi
That'd be amazing
movies.
if the mask was so
big fan of
I'm like
Spider-Man in general
with it like across the country, but then it deleted itself from your mind. You know, it's like, no, Gene is my next target now.
You manifested it in a video feed, dude.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of those movies. I'm a huge fan of Spider-Man. And like, I saw this, I can't remember who sent me this link to this Marvel put out, I guess, like some series they have this ongoing series of like really, like not like upscale, like high scale replicas, but kind of like mid-tier, like relatively expensive, but like still relatively affordable kind of prop replicas from their movies or whatever. And earlier this year, they came out with like the link for this thing came out, and it was like a No Way Home Green Goblin mask and pumpkin bomb. I didn't get the pumpkin bomb, but I was like, that is crazy looking. And it was like $130. So I was like, that's not particularly unreasonable for how good that thing looks. Like, cause this thing, like, I feel like there was a point in time where this would have been like $400. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Easily.
totally.
And so I'm like, yeah, fucking, I'll get that. So I pre-ordered it in like really early this year, and I only just got it recently. And I'm enthralled with it. First of all, I didn't know it was an actual mask that you could put on. I was kind of under the assumption. I was under the assumption that it was like, for those of you familiar with the Halo 3 Legendary Edition helmet, that was like kind of like it was really just like a prop and like a centerpiece. Yep. You would just put it over it was like a DVD holder, I think, or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was going to be just that. And I was happy with that. Just like, I was going to get it as a prop for like a video to just like sit in the corner of my room and whisper shit to me. But then it got here and I was like, oh, you could put this fucking thing. You can wear this and you can see really well through it. That's insane. So I'm pretty happy with it. I've got it just sitting there in the background for audio listeners. It's really upsetting. But
dude, growing up and like trying to find Halloween costumes or just like a prop for something or whatever, I would always try to find helmets and they'd like mask like that. And they would always be like one size fits all. And I'm like, you've not met my head. I have an enormous head.
Yeah.
No mask, no helmet fits me unless it's designed to fit a fat head.
Well, hold on. So let me show you the magic of this. So that's what I thought too initially, right? I thought like, oh, I saw that it was a helmet that you could wear, but like nothing, this isn't going to fit me because my head is huge. But so this is fucking massive, by the way. But
wow, that's spacious. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Isn't that insane?
That's
Dude,
insane.
I would buy that for $124 just to like open that, close that, the whole thing. That's cool.
It's super satisfying. Let me get back up here.
That's very cool. I'm glad that you said that you were gonna use it as a prop for whispering to yourself, because now that I actually see it in someone that I know's house, like the minute I saw that, I was like, oh, Chris is just having conversations with himself now. That's just. This is where we're at, like at his stages in his life right now. You know.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, should I cook something or should I order something out? And I'll just like have a little conversation in my own head about it. It's fun.
He's like, Chris, look at your Uber Eats orders. Look at how many consecutive there are.
Order Silver Lake ramen. No,
pick up six this time.
But yeah, so I've got that. That's the first of two irresponsible purchases I made this year. The second one was Dark Horse. Dark Horse is making like a Halo 2 20th anniversary statue that looks pretty fucking sick. You guys can look it up if you're curious in the audience, but it's crazy cool looking. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't really buy these things often, if ever. And this year there just happened to be two that caught my fancy. So I was like, why not?
Nice, man.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too good looking.
Oh, he's doing a little slide with the battle rifle. Nice.
Yeah, that thing is crazy looking. I hope it's as good as this thing, you know, because there's always a chance that you get it and it looks like it's one of those expectation versus reality memes.
Yeah.
Where like the paint's all fucked or like it comes shattered in 50 pieces. But yeah, I don't know. All right, guys, let's we got some topics here today. I don't know what order to go in because they're kind of like all of these are very, very independent topics, but I think jeans is the one that caught my attention the most because I just thought this was an interesting subject. So, Gene, you want to kick us off?
Yeah. My topic today is masculinity. The reason why I bring it up is because I think here at Last Stand Media, we have a unique opportunity here because there is so much conversation and discourse about having we need a leftist Joe Rogan, whatever, right? I'm not suggesting, I'm far from suggesting that any of us here at Last Stand Media are equipped politically or whatnot to become the leftist Joe Rogan. But a side shoot of that conversation is how the success of the Manosphere podcast, you know, and that the Manosphere creator And when I first started listening to LSM, one of the first self criticisms that Colin always had about this network is that it's very male centric. That 99% of our audience is men. That Micah is like our very our very weak attempt at making it a little bit more feminine or whatever. But most of our audience is men, and we kind of bemoan that effect. Maybe we don't need to start complaining about it. Maybe we need to think about how lucky we are that we might actually be. Maybe we might be the manosphere of gaming podcasts. Who knows, right? And here at LSM, we have so many different pictures of masculinity. Right here between us three, I see three versions of masculinity. I don't know what the hell I am, right? But I see Chris, who's a very well-made, a very pretty boy. I'm sure I'm not the first person to call Chris very pretty. Right, Chris?
I've heard it a couple times.
Yes,
I've heard it. I have. There's an episode of Seinfeld where he complains that everybody calls him gay because he's thin, single, and neat.
Yeah,
Jerry? And that's and that's very. That I'm thin, single, and neat. I clean constantly. I don't think that necessarily helps.
Yeah, and then we got Ben, who is just like. On the rawest side of masculinity, looks like a Viking, right? Definitely is probably a descendant of a Viking, right? Is married, has a beautiful, wonderful wife, is a mayor, or was a mayor, and also just a guy who knows how to take care of shit. As Ben left the network, I told Ben. I really remembered the way you took care of the whole staff during the live trips, at least in one live trip that I've been on in New York. And like a taxi driver dropped me off at the wrong hotel, and I texted Ben, and Ben right away just texted right back, and he had the information correct and everything. And sure enough, the taxi driver just dropped me off at the wrong hotel. But it was Ben being alert right there and being available that I was like, oh, Ben's really on top of this, And then, I brought my ex-girlfriend over and she was outside, and like I was like Ben, could you grab her? And Ben just took care of her too, So like there goes Ben taking care of my women too, But at the same time taking care of the whole event and making sure everything's run, And I'm like, that's another great picture of masculinity. Someone who just takes care of things, And then there's me who just kind of just whips his dick around and sees what happens. I don't know. Like for me, the way I look at masculinity has always been different because I've never been into sports, for example. I will say something on this program that hasn't really been a secret. I've said it publicly before, but I've never said it at the level of fame or notoriety that I have now. I'm actually a brony.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. I loved the My Little Pony show. I don't watch it now. I don't watch it repeatedly, and I don't collect My Little Pony anything. But I did watch the show, and I thought it was a really, really good show, and I loved the characters. And when this is the recent show, and then I was watching the recent show, and I was like, shit, I really liked My Little Pony back then in the 80s too, I really enjoyed that stuff. And I played with Barbies back in the day too. So I like to create the story, and Barbie was like the only girl character that I had, so I needed her around, to make my stories. And then, it always made my dad wonder, like is my son, what's wrong with my son? He ain't right in the head or whatever, like in the Korean version. But
that like boy ain't right.
That boy ain't right, But he would say it like a Korean, which I won't do because I can't remember. But yeah, it always made me wonder. That's why he tried to get me into sports, and he tried to like buy me sports games and everything. And it worked. It definitely like swung in the other way where I started to get more interested in basketball and stuff like that. But my concept of masculinity was different because a lot of it was brought on by my dad, who is a drinker, so for me, when I started to kind of think I should be more manly, that included drinking more. And sure enough, my dad started to accept me more, and like other men started to accept me more. Other men was like, "Oh, Gene's so cool. He's so drunk right now." And that always that's a pretty fucked up version of masculinity when you think about that. It's someone who is just kind of fucked up all the time. But I don't know where I go with this. I just want to this is an interesting mix of people of men here. This is one episode where I will say the 4-man crew would be useful, because it'd be nice to have like even like a fourth aspect or a fourth tier of man here. I think Cog would be a good picture of masculinity, because he's probably the most manliest man out of everyone here in the network. He's definitely the buffest, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's a Gears of War character.
Yes,
he's wild. Like he's the most masculine person I've met in person, I think.
Yes, I do feel like that if he took cover, there would be like a dust that like shoots up from his back and from the cover itself, like at that, because it would have that impact.
Exactly.
I don't want to comment on who's the least masculine. We'll just say it's Micah for sure.
Yeah, that's safe. That's the safe one.
That's the safe one. But yeah, like even having Micah on board would actually be interesting, in that regard to hear her side of things. But maybe we can start a whole Manosphere podcast within this conversation right here. I think for me, I might be the person in the network. I really love the conversation you guys had, Chris, on Thursday about who is the most hated member of LSM. And I really,
right.
Yeah, and I really pride myself in being the 4th hated member. I was like, hell yeah! Like I really made it to the top right after Jaffe, Chris, and Colin and Chris. That's amazing. But part of it is I think people are really tired of hearing how cool I am. But I do think that out of the network, I probably have dated the most women. I probably just seen. I don't know. Maybe Chris will compete too.
No.
You just talked about it the most.
I might just talk about them the most. So it's like, if I were I'm thinking about like if I were to start a Manosphere podcast, like what angle would I take? And I feel like the angle I might take is probably like the pickup artist, like the like the scumbag pickup artist kind of thing. Because I'm not married. So I don't look to me for advice on how to keep a woman.
You're saying you're the Andrew Tate of the network. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that I might have the biggest potential to be the Tate of the network.
I wouldn't put that on your LinkedIn profile or anything.
Yeah, you should also say that to your job references too, Ben. Too. So say, oh yeah, we have an Andrew Tate of the network here.
Exactly.
He also works at the Washington Post.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that too, because again, I'm going to go back into my history, but I've never actually been a pimp before, but I have like lured men into the services of other women before.
Wait, what does that? Wait, what does that mean? What is it?
That's just being a reference. That's not.
Yeah. It's being a reference, right? Because on Guam, I dated a woman who was a mama-san of a hostess club. She ran and owned a hostess club.
Oh.
And I was 22, 23, and she was like 35, 36. So older woman. And she is like, so if you don't know, do you guys know what a hostess club is?
I'm familiar with the concept.
I not really, not specifically. I think I'm assuming something.
Yeah. Sure. What do you assume it is?
It sounds like not exactly a brothel, but like pretty damn close. That's what my assumption is.
Fairly close. It could be. So a hostess club is a type of bar that employs a lot of beautiful young women, and men would go into this place and they would buy drinks that are overpriced. Usually $20. $20 is the market price for probably like a shot of water, even, right? Like, because you don't want these girls like drinking like every minute all night, right?
Right.
And then men would go there and buy them drinks and just have conversations with them. So this is a mini game in the Yakuza series, where you actually have to go into a bar and like you have to like train women to learn how to talk to men and everything, right?
Okay, that's what I'm recognizing it from. Yeah.
So my ex-girlfriend Myung owned one of these bars, and she basically told me, because I knew how to speak English and she barely knew how to speak English, and I'm like the local like American dude like at the bars. She asked me to go around and talk to military dudes to entice them over. It's like, hey, I know this really good place with a lot of pretty young women, want to come over. And so I would just bring men over, like a bunch of like Navy sailors over to her bar. And so like I have exposure to like not really sex trafficking, but but kind of,
Not technically.
Because these women aren't really like, they're not required to have sex. She didn't tell them that she had to have sex, right? But if you could have sex with them, that would be really good for the business,
That's so wild.
Yeah. So it's like, would I become like the pickup artist? Because I've hung out with a lot of like pickup artist type guys, because I used to go to the club all the time. And, we would have all these concepts of like negging. Do you guys want to know what negging means?
I don't know what it means in the prostitution realm, but I feel is
that like kind of almost bullying? Is that what it is?
Kind of, yeah. You're kind of almost insulting or bullying a woman to make her more attracted to you.
It's so like second grade. It's like second grade flirting, basically.
It's so fucking baby brain, cave brain shit, right?
Yeah.
And for some reason, guys really think it works. I don't think it works. I don't think it ever really worked for me. But a lot of my friends would be like, "Oh no, dude, Gene, you should go up to a girl and say, hey, what kind of purse is that? That purse is trash. Like, talk shit about their clothes, talk shit about their makeup or their hair. Make them feel insecure about themselves, about all the effort that they put into their own body or an image. Which sounds like insane talk to me.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work on. That probably works on women that you're probably like friendly with, because it's, what I mean. That's how I treat all my friends. Is that I insult them. So like, I've definitely had that work before, but never with like a stranger. You know what I mean? It's usually like, what are you doing here, you asshole? And then it just works for some reason. But I know this person. This isn't just like some stranger that I'm going. It's like, hey, what's up? You're fat, dumb, and stupid, and I'm going to kill you. It's like, I don't know if that's the best strategy.
That's what I said too. I was like, I don't know if insulting them works, guys. And then they're like, shut up, it works. And then like we all had different names. We all had to have stage names.
What, like aliases?
Aliases, yeah, because they're all married. First of all,
Oh, awesome.
So that's the issue. I'm talking about my crew of problematic boys, basically, that I used to run with, right?
What was that crew that Leonardo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire?
Oh my
Do you know
God.
what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They had a name. Was it the Pussy Patrol or something? I'm not even joking. I swear to God that this is real. Like they had like a little group of like Hollywood guys, and they had a name for their club, and they would just go around trying to score.
That's exactly it. You need some kind of Pussy Patrol in your life, or do you? I don't know. That's what my Manosphere podcast would ask, So yeah, I don't know. That's where I am at. It's like, where it's like, could I offer my services as a scumbag pickup artist to LSM? Could we just create a whole Manosphere podcast out of the men we have, or whatever?
Yeah,
but it starts by having a conversation about our manhood. So I don't know. Let's go with you, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, let's pitch it to Colin and see. Yeah. Let's see how he feels about it. Yeah, I don't know, man. This subject's interesting because it's so interesting being in like I don't even know what you would call it. Culture's too. It sounds too pretentious of a way to refer to it, but like a culture that even focuses a lot on this stuff, like masculinity and femininity at all, because I really never thought about it. Like genuinely, not once throughout my entire lifetime. I think maybe at a certain point, I kind of had an idea that I wasn't like typically masculine because I'm small, I'm pretty thin. I'm not a hulking, super soldier or anything. So like I understood that, but it didn't matter. Like I wasn't ever told like, oh, don't cry or anything.
Oh, see, I was told that all the time. They're like stop crying. You're a maggot, but in like the other word,
Yeah, no, that's like it's just
like Guam. Growing up in Guam, like real quick, Guam is like a very machismo centric culture. Like You know,
Yeah.
in Guam, we celebrate New Year's Eve by shooting assault rifles in the air. You know, so like that's like the culture
Right.
I had to grow up around. So like if I start crying, like say it's too loud, they're like shut up, pussy. You know.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely. I don't know. It's because like I have a very military family. You know, a lot of my family members are in the military, in the Coast Guard, you know, Army, stuff like that. And my dad especially was an Army guy, but he never. I don't know. He wasn't like. He was never like don't cry or anything, or like it was like so opposite of the stereotype that I see. Not that he's like a gentle, like careless guy or anything, but he's just like a funny. He's very chill. He's like you know that guy that stupid dog on Twitter right now that like that drawing
guy.
Yeah, that's my dad really. Except when he gets like pissed off when something's misplaced in the kitchen and he just has a rant to himself, which I've realized I do also, so it's completely genetic. But yeah, like I was never told like I shouldn't cry or like that I couldn't feel that like my parents didn't really care what toys I was playing with. You know, like my sister had a dollhouse that I basically like inherited, and like I had a bunch of like, and I had like Spider-Man and like Dragon Ball figures, and I would use the dollhouse as like setting, you know, and like they didn't care, and I didn't care,
Exactly.
and you know, I guess video games were kind of a big thing too, because that was like around the time that I was growing up, and probably still, to be honest, it's pretty not masculine hobby, but it's more boy centric, you know? And so, you know, I wasn't like doing ballet or anything, but I don't know. I just never really, I never once thought about like, is what I'm interested in too girly or like, is this manly enough? Like I remember watching cartoons that like Powerpuff Girls, I remember being like a big thing when I was a kid, when I was like 8 or like 7 or something like that. And every kid that I knew, boy or girl, was watching that show, you know, even though it was like a very like girl coded, like it was like, oh, Powerpuff Girls. It's, you know, nobody seemed to care. Everybody was just kind of watching everything. And maybe that is the culture just like in New York where I grew up, where everybody is kind of like, you know, mind your own business. Who cares? You know, I got my own shit. I don't care. I don't care what the hell you're playing with, but I don't know. I don't know if I have too in-depth of a relationship with masculinity because I never really thought about it in any real deep, meaningful way, or like, or it's just like, oh, that men can only be masculine, and I really think it's like there's a spectrum of emotions. You know what I mean? Like I think there are days where I'm feeling particularly like, you know, particularly masculine, and then there are days where I'm just like, I don't know. I just watched Jojo Rabbit and I cried, and now I'm just like, now I'm in my feelings, and like I want to eat like ice cream or something. But I don't know, Ben. I'm curious what you have to say, because I just feel like you're like the lumberjack of the group. Like you strike me as inherently masculine. Like the entire.
You would be the other Gears of War character, basically. I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe not Gears of War, like God of War. There you go. You definitely be at Mount Olympus somewhere, you know.
There we go. Yeah, I think I'm kind of with Chris in that I don't know that I've ever really, not never, but growing up, I never really thought about like be a man. Like my dad raised me to be, both my parents, but specifically from my father's perspective, raised me to just be responsible and care about the people around me. And like for me, that's been the definition of what I want to be as a man. Obviously, people who are not women can also be responsible and take care of the people around them. Like that's not inherently a manly trait. But for me, that's what being a man meant, is that like I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have a wife. I wanted to have kids. I wanted to take care of them. I wanted to take care of the people around me. So for me, that's always kind of been what like being a man is. But I've always been kind of like the lumberjack, you know, like the guy. I love heavy music, and I'm really strong, and I have a beard, and like I look like a man that you would think of. But at the same time, like I don't know, I like musicals, and I used to teach ballroom dancing, and I don't really like to be out. I don't really like the outdoors all that much unless I'm actively doing, like I don't just want to be outside unless I'm doing something outside. So like for me, I don't know. I felt unmasculine many times in my life because like I wasn't enough into whatever the thing was. You know, I used to hunt. I used to love hunting, and I still would hunt now. I want to. My son's going to be 12 next year. I'm going to take him to hunt. But like I hunted for years, and I always would kill something, and I'd always gut it and everything. And then one year I couldn't go because of work. It was like my first year out of college. I couldn't go, and then the next year I was like, oh, it's raining. Oh, I kind of hate being cold, wet, and carving the anus out of a creature that was living a couple minutes ago to pull its guts out of. Like a lot of dudes I know are like, oh, you love hunting, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, I think it's cool. The sport of it is cool, and I like the products of it afterwards. I like to eat meat from animals that we butcher, but I really don't like the whole, all the manly stuff. Like I don't like that stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I just don't think. I think much of what I think of as how to be masculine is much about responsibility. And I don't think that's inherently male focused or it is male focused, but I don't know that it's not exclusive to males. Right.
Yeah.
But for
Mike
me,
takes care of shit all the time too. And
exactly. Like but that's what it has been to me. Like if I think what I'm getting at is if I were to suddenly be like, I can't provide for my family, which I don't know. Hey, I'm out of a job here in like 6 weeks, so maybe we'll see. But if I can't take care of my family or whatever, then I'm no longer a man. Like that's what being a man is to me. But that doesn't mean that I don't think that a woman who takes care of their family is not, it is masculine. Like I just think that's being responsible. So I don't know. I kind of reject the idea of masculinity as we've defined it in the 21st century and just think of it as more of a, like the whole, I don't relate. I understand there are people who are, toxically masculine, that whole phrase. And I know that's not really what we're getting at, but like, I don't really relate to that because I've never felt like I'm that person. Like I'm very soft. I'm very tender, even though I look like this all the time. Like that's just how my face looks, man. I can't help it. Like I'm a very like feeling person. So yeah, masculinity to me has been somewhat of an abstract concept that I don't relate with, but I feel like I am it at the same time.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. It's like I kind of feel the same way where I don't know if it just kind of feels arbitrary, and it's very dependent on the time also. Like what's masculine today is not what was masculine in like the 30s. You know what I mean? It's like they share some overlap for sure, but it's like things shift and they're in weird, but like I remember feeling like, oh, I'm not into sports. Should I? I don't care about cars. Should I?
Yeah.
But then I immediately was like, I don't care enough about I don't care enough to even begin to care about whether or not I should care about it. Right. So I've always been very just kind of opposed to just let me exist and figure things out on my own. But I love the idea of, by the way, we've already ruined the prospect of a Manosphere podcast in this conversation because we're literally nobody on that side of the entertainment would entertain this conversation. It would always, because a lot of it is pickup artist oriented or I don't know, bringing on like random OnlyFans models to clown on them for not knowing U.S. history. It's very, very weird shit going on over there.
It's so strange. Yeah, I mean, well, that's why. Like, maybe we have an opportunity where we don't have to be like the assholes. Where we're like, from what I'm getting just from our cross section is that we're not quite those guys. Ben doesn't like to just gut an animal with his hands just by reaching into their asshole and reaching it out. I don't feel comfortable just going up to random women and insulting them based on their looks or what they're wearing or whatever,
I just want to get it in there. I'm not into that either, that part.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't sound like a good idea for us to invite a bunch of OnlyFans models only to ask them, what books have you read or whatever,
that shit is crazy. And those guys are wild. Like, it's so funny watching how things have changed in that way, because like, dude, some of the stuff I remember years ago making like, I don't know, just making videos about like, yeah, Hillary Clinton doesn't seem like a good candidate. And I was like, thousands of people would be like, "This is a sexist video."
Such a
And
misogynist.
now, and it's so funny watching.
This is an alt-right starter pack, including Chris
Right.
Reagan. Did you see that tweet going around about you?
Oh, I didn't. I don't know. No.
Oh,
Wait,
man.
there was an alt-right starter pack.
There was like some kind of like YouTube like
I think
Oh,
Chris retweeted it.
whatever.
Chris retweeted it.
No, yeah, I did. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. That was like that. That's like that image of the three Hitlers and then SpongeBob in the corner. It really is crazy, dude. It is crazy because like I'm joking about that, by the way. I'm sure most of those people don't care, but like I look at some of the podcasts now or like some of the podcast clips, and I look around and it's like, oh damn, like this is actually sexist, like actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like in like in a not boy cried wolf kind of way,
Right.
and they just wasted all of that fervor years ago on shit that was just so tame in comparison. Like you guys would be like the people who called me sexist in 2016. You beg for me to come back. In the stead of all this shit, you got Myron Gaines and people like that. You're all right, man. Good luck. But I really, I don't know. Masculinity, like you bring up like the pickup artist culture, which I think is kind of interesting because I remember that being like a source of confusion for me too, because I remember I would see movies and like guys would just always just like, look at that. Every conversation was almost like a reverse Bechdel test, you know, where every conversation in a movie between a group of guys is always about like, oh, you see that waitress, you know? So, oh man, whoa, that's crazy. She's so hot. The like 99% of my conversations with my guy friends when it's just us are not even remotely like that.
Right.
Like they're really not even like my friend and I are talking about like the solar flares.
Yeah.
And how like it's gonna fuck up the
so it's not
poles.
like a conversation of Scarface where you see a hot waitress by the beach bar and then she ignores you and then you go lesbian. Like, you don't do that?
Exactly. Like I was just like, is that how I'm supposed
Stupid
to be? Like
lesbian, you know? No, you don't do that?
No, it's I've definitely been in place. Like I've definitely look. I'm not saying I've not had a conversation about how attractive someone is, right? But like the representation of it is crazy in like media that I see, because it's just like it's never like I remember being at there's a bar in Burbank that I went to called Over Under, and it was like it was like when it first opened, and we went there. I was like, oh, let's try it out, and there was a waitress there that was like one of the most stunning people I've ever seen. I was like, what the fuck? And I just couldn't believe it. But that was like maybe like a 2-minute conversation before we started talking about, I don't even know. I think it was like, we were probably talking about Kingdom Hearts or something. And how much I can't stand it.
It's funny that you brought that up because I've actually been part of those conversations many, many times because I hang out at bars all the time and I'll just be like, man, look at that server though, you know? Like I just be like I would be the one initiating it, where I'd be like, dude, check her out, bro. You know, like it's so funny that you say that, because it's like I don't know, I can't count how many fucking times I've been in those conversations where it is like not quite like Scarface, where like I would just call like a girl lesbian because she rejected me, like not to that cartoonish ability. But you know, I'd just be like, yeah, you know, like the Key and Peele skit, you know, like those guys, you know. Just gawking at women, but like it'll be like at the club or like at the beach or something, you know. And also like I've grown up in the Pacific Island where like women are like walking around in bikinis, so like it's hard not to think about that all the time, you know. Out here on the East Coast, I haven't seen cleavage in the last like 6 years. I don't know what cleavage looks like anymore, because everyone's just fucking wearing. Everyone's just wearing turtlenecks here, you know. That's the most skin I ever get. So like, I actually do feel like those Key and Peele guys, where they're like, "Oh my god, look at her ankle! Did you see her ankle? Oh my god!" You know, like that's how
so
I feel
insane.
now. Whenever I see like just a little bit of skin, I'm just so denied from it. Living here in the East Coast,
I'm just so opposite, I guess. Like I don't know. Like maybe it's the company I keep too. I've never been in like a pickup artist sphere, and even when we do go to a bar, it's usually like a bunch of nerds at a bar, you know what I mean? Like it's not really, I don't know. I've also just like, because dude, I'm like 5'4", I'm small, you know. I'm not going to approach people at a bar. Like I'm just not going to do it. People are going to be like, what's this kid doing here? You know, it's not how I meet people. I have to meet people organically.
Yeah,
and so
I've
like
actually done the thing where like I would get a haircut, and I have a huge crush on the woman cutting my hair, and I would pay her, and I would leave my phone number on the receipt. I've done that before.
Oh man, how did that work?
She didn't call me back.
Yeah.
It never worked, right?
No,
How did that work? It didn't.
Yeah,
but I would try that shit though, and I would feel I feel like a fool right now talking about it, but I definitely did that shit before,
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been the approach people at a bar. Like, I think what am I, 12 or 13 relationships, I think, at this point, which is not like, I don't say that as like a point of pride. It's really just like, the facts. But like, I think maybe 2 of them I asked out.
Yeah.
Everybody else approached me. I was just like, oh, okay, cool. Because I'm just not. I'm not that guy, man. I'm not going to go up to like some stranger and be like, hey. That doesn't work. I also don't think it really works for most people, to be honest with you. Like, no. I think that's like such a fake, like, movie ass thing. It's like, no, you meet people through other people, I think, generally. Or organically through like a happenstance conversation. Like, that's happened before. I've met strangers at a bar in that way. But like, just like, hey, can I buy you a drink? Fuck no.
I met my wife. Well, I guess I knew her like tangentially on the side, I just knew who she was. We went to church together. I knew her brother. My pickup line for her was, hey, do you want to go to dinner sometime? And then we got married a year later. So yeah, before that I was in college, and before that I was in high school, and I probably did some stupid pickup lines at some point, but I certainly never, I've never known anyone who met their significant other with a cheesy pickup line at all.
Yeah. It's why I'm still single. So, I think I speak to that, which is why like I could not, I had a buddy of mine, a coworker, Dan, who always kept giving me advice on how to talk to women. He was like, you're too emotional on social media, man. You gotta be more stone faced, like he's like 50 years old, but he's like trying to tell me, he's trying to use his boomer language to tell me to be a Chad more, basically. He didn't know how to say Chad, but that's basically what he was doing.
Right.
And I told him, Dan, you've been divorced 3 fucking times. I've known 2 of your wives. That's how fast those marriages ended. You can't fucking talk to me about keeping women. He was like, I'm talking to you about getting women. I was like, oh, okay, well.
Okay, well.
Point taken. But I do know that if I want to keep a woman, I'm not listening to you. So yeah, don't listen to me. Listen to Ben. That's for sure. Or Dustin, for fuck's sake,
Yeah. Any of the married people, really.
Yeah. Maddie,
I overestimated, by the way. It's
So.
7 for me, not 13. I counted things that I shouldn't have counted in my head. But yeah, so I don't know, man. Masculinity is weird. It's interesting. I've always felt like it's just like kind of like a spectrum of. I don't want to sound too crystal girly, because I don't think that's necessarily how I'm meaning it. But I do think it's like just various types of. I don't know. I think it's like an energy that you kind of like flow in and out of, really. Like there are days where it's just like, oh, it's a very masculine kind of feeling, or there are days where it's like maybe more swings the opposite. I think certain people maybe have like a sitting position where like they might sit in most of the time that is different from other people. Like maybe some people are more feminine, even just some of the gay people that I know. It's just like some of them are like way more feminine, and some of them are just like you wouldn't know, you know.
You wouldn't be able to tell that they're gay at all. They're just dudes.
Yeah,
like, the colloquial dudes. And it's like, oh, you're gay. So that's why, like Chris brings up an important point. That's what goes into like a lot of the gender discussions these days. It's like, that's why people call it gender fluid, because sometimes you just feel a certain way, some days, and some days you don't.
I get that, but it's like, I don't know what my opinion on that is, really, because I feel like that's just like being a person.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the designation of a separate like column for it, I think, is strange, because I think most people are in that category. I think everybody's in that category. I just don't think it manifests to a high enough degree for most people to consider.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm feeling like, I'm outside and I'm fucking chopping wood or whatever. It's like, yeah, I'm really in this masculine space right now.
Mm-hmm. I want to see some boobs right now.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw recently on somebody's, I think on their Twitter profile or something, and I can't remember for the life of me what the actual title was, but it was like, they had some kind of, I think it had a pride flag next to it, and it said like something sexual. And I was like, I don't know what that is. I'm going to look that up and see what that is. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody or anything, but like what it said was basically like, sometimes you're interested in a sexual relationship and sometimes you're not. And I'm like, isn't that just called like being horny? Like sometimes you're
Mm.
interested in that, and sometimes you're not. Like I'm sure
Yeah,
there's
but
more to it. But I was like, do we have to have a label for everything? Like sometimes you can just be who you are. Like I don't know.
I'm kind of in agreement. Like I think I just feel like there's a lot of labels to things that don't need to be like it's very strange because I just think these are all facets of everybody's experience.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's like what was oh my god, I'm blanking on the name. I'm not gonna be able to call it out accurately, but like there was like a couple of things like that where I'm just like, that's just every other Wednesday.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For me, where I'm just like, I don't know about this. It's just I don't know. There's too much of that shit going on. I think like it's not necessarily
everything's made up too. Like even our concept of
Everything is made up.
masculinity, like
That's
you
true.
know, who decided that chopping wood was like that's what men do, It's
right.
just,
Yeah.
Like,
I guess
like,
that's fair.
like this is definitely the thing that only men do or whatever. So it's all just fake, anyways, right? But yeah, you're right that the level of conversation that we've already had here is already more than you might find in the manosphere, which is again interesting. I'm trying to make us money here, guys.
It's funny. My wife.
We already get. Do we get Manscaped sponsorships here? Do we do that?
I think we have in the past. I can't recall for sure.
Yeah,
I think we have. I know we have.
We should have
Yeah,
Mangreat, the Norm Macdonald's old sponsors. Mangreat. Do you remember? Do you know that? You know that joke?
I think the Green Goblin's talking to Chris, but I'm not
No,
sure.
what the fuck are they doing on the other side? Some people are doing some weird shit on the other side of that wall.
No, I don't know that joke.
Yeah, we should have the Mangreat here or more men sponsorship, more men sponsorship.
Oh, the Mangreat? Are you talking?
Yeah, the Mangreat. Yeah, Norm Macdonald's Mangreat. Yeah.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I love that clip from his show is one of my favorite clips of him just like not caring about that ad read at all.
Yeah.
It's
Have
so
you heard
good.
of Mangreat? Andy Dick. He's like, yeah. He's like, you have? Chicken and steak have never tasted so good.
Dude, it's what a treasure, man. I miss him. I miss him every day.
But yeah, just this is I feel like this was a much more interesting conversation than I actually expected. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll have Masculinity Part 2 with other members next time.
Yeah, I think this would have been this is one of those things that I could see being revisited with like different permutations. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even just getting a woman's perspective on it, I think would be cool. Like getting Mike on on a show to talk about it, because it is, I don't know, man. I think this was one of those episodes where it's like this could have benefited from another person too, just to get as many like a bigger sample size. But
and I also think that we would benefit from hearing from the audience too. Like, men, you're out there, like I was actually thinking while we were talking, we do threads for every other show that we do, but we never do one for Constellation, but for this one, it would have been interesting to throw out a thread and be like, hey, what how do you guys deal with your masculinity or whatever? I'd be really interested to hear from the audience how they deal or tackle or how they define masculinity or what they want to hear from us, in terms of the topic and our own experiences,
Do you also get the inkling or the semblance that there's certain types of masculinity that feel like so performative that they borderline on being gay?
Yeah.
like I can't remember exactly who. I think it was was it? It was one of the conservatives. It was like Matt Walsh, I think. Yeah. Where he was talking about how no one's like he's never had a male friend tell him that I've never had a male friend say I love you, bro. And if he was like, if one of my male friends said like, hey man, just want to let you know I love you, man, I would say like, okay, did you see the game? Like that was his like genuine. I was like, that's like so strange to me, because I'm just like that to me comes across as mega gay.
Yeah.
to me like I'm so afraid to accept love from like just a friend of mine that I'm just like, what's the most manly thing I can think of? The game. Did you see the game? It's so crazy.
That is like the most like stereotypically like closeted character that you can probably create,
He's closet coded.
Yeah, very, very closet coded. Yeah, it's kind of like like it's like the grifter gamers where they just complain about wanting to see titties all the time or whatever. I don't know. And when they actually see like an actual like realistic attractive woman, it's like it's like,
ew, what a bitch.
Yeah.
Cover up. Yeah, like I don't know. That whole thing is weird too. Like the whole like there's so much. There's an I'll put it this way. I think we know too much about everybody because people are out there horny posting like it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like cool. It's like listen, you can cool. It's cool to be open. Whatever, I get it. But like I don't need to know every single. I don't need to see you like retweeting like. Just so you guys know, this is what I'm looking at right now. It's like, oh, great. Like, I don't. It's strange behavior. I don't get it.
I follow so many people who just retweet like all kinds of porn or like hentai or whatever. It's like that. I was like, oh my god.
Right, but it's like, what do you do? Like, to me, my brain is like, why would you be retweeting? Like, you're not sitting at a desk. Or like out on the street retweeting that, you know what I mean? Like you're laying down somewhere and you found this and you're like, this is so good. Let me use my other hand to share this. So like I don't know, man. I don't appreciate it. We could stand to know a little bit less. Is all.
I think the reality.
Like go ahead, Ben.
I think the reality is that all of these people that we've talked about throughout this, or just the internet isn't real, man. Oh, like yeah. I've met a lot of people in my life, and I've experienced, and there are some weirdos, but there aren't real people like this in the world. This is all internet personas. Even though, you know, I even think like the toxic masculine guys we're talking about, you know, the Tates and everything. That's not who those people really are. Like they may be pieces of shit. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're not bad people, but nobody actually acts or thinks like this to other people in real life, face to face. Unless it's making them a lot of money somehow, and then maybe they are. But the average person, nobody actually believes or acts like this.
Yeah, no, because you're usually a coward. You wouldn't.
I have to think that for my own sanity.
Oh yeah, it's the optimistic perspective.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well,
yeah, but you're right about horny being very, very public, though, especially on a place like Twitter or. Especially Twitter, where sharing horny is incentivized too. You know, it's just
Well, it gets a lot of like, dude. I remember that for a brief period of time, I still get a lot of bots, but like there was a period of time like a couple months ago where it was just like insane. You couldn't post anything without like, you know, come to my OnlyFans, like just like immediately. It's just like, and it's not even real people too. That's the crazy thing. It was just like fake accounts set up by like bots, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, we haven't had a pussy in bio reply in a while, so they took care of that. But pussy in bio was a meme for a bit.
Yeah. Well, now it's in the message requests. Or at least for me, I see it a lot, and it's just like, oh, God, man, it's rough out there.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just places like Twitter really like centralize, you know, and maybe this is a good segue into our next conversation, but it really centralized like horny posting, you know, where you can see who are the type of people who have been socially trained on only internet porn comments by the way they talk to other people, you know?
Yeah.
Like, dude, you can't talk to people like that normally. That's just not like normal way of conduct. But then you read like Pornhub comments or like X videos comments, and you're like, you sound exactly like those people. Like you can't.
Pornhub comments are so amazing. Like that is top tier entertainment. Is like a well populated comment section on Pornhub. Yeah. Fascinating people. But yeah, Gene, are you satisfied?
Yeah. Well, satisfied to the degree that I can be, but you know,
yeah,
I will devour other people's masculinity on this podcast. But yeah, let us know what you think. Would you like a Manosphere podcast from LSM?
Let's do it. Let's get it off
with our own like with a whole little hodgepodge of mixed up masculinity that you just witnessed here. You know, is that helpful? Would you like advice? I don't know.
Oh man. All right. Well, I guess you set up the segue really, really well, completely by coincidence. But I'm going to segue into my topic. I think I wanted to talk a little bit about this social media exodus that's kind of happening. A lot of people there's a lot of competitors to Twitter, and there have been competitors to other websites for a long time. I remember YouTube had Vimeo and VidMe for a while, and there were some others that didn't take off. I know there was Friendster and all these other things, but it seemed like for a while that like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram were really like the the ones that just were here to stay. They weren't really going away. Even as Facebook wanes, it's still kind of like the only thing like that anybody cares to use. Like you couldn't really make a Facebook competitor because nobody wants Facebook really. So they're still kind of the top dog in that way, in that space anyway. And they also own Instagram. That helps. But and Twitter's been pretty big for a while, and to the point where when they changed it to X, I remember being like, I don't know why you would even do that. Really, like brand recognition is pretty important, and I actually feel like it's made it a little bit easier for people to leave Twitter, just from the fact that it doesn't really feel the same. But Twitter, I know people have different perspectives on this, but like from my perspective, Twitter's gotten kind of off the rails lately. I find a lot of, I don't know, sometimes I'm scrolling and then I just see like live leak shit just pop up out of nowhere, and it's just like, oh great, that's a person dying, or just like porn, and like it's not even people that I'm following. It's usually like I usually try to like, it's just like, all right, let me hide it because I'm scrolling outside, like I'm on walks, I'm scrolling. I don't want to scroll through porn outside like a psycho. But it just kind of happens anyway, and there's like a bot situation, and like obviously there's like politicization happening with like Elon owning the site, which I think is like 50% fair, 50% kind of boogeyman stuff. But a lot of people are kind of now in the last like couple weeks, and by the time, so the last couple weeks as we're recording this, which is November 25th. I don't know when you guys are going to be seeing this, but people have been kind of like moving en masse to Threads and what's that, Blue Sky. And I've had both of those accounts on Threads and on Blue Sky for a while. It really bothered me that I couldn't get my own @ on Twitter for a long time. So it's just every time a new social media site comes out, I'm always immediately like, I got to grab my name before some because the guy with the Chris Raygun account on Twitter is just a parody account. And I didn't think at all. I never thought that I would be big enough to even have that problem. So I just I never grabbed the @ and it's bothered me ever since. But I've been spending some time on those websites, and Threads feels pretty like, I don't even really know what Threads is. But Blue Sky, as far as like, especially recently in the last like couple weeks, has felt like noticeably different in the sense of like the atmosphere there. Like things feel chill there in a way that I kind of miss. And I was thinking like, oh, interesting. These are two websites that do the same thing. Ultimately, it's like stream of consciousness, like short bite-sized posts. But they have completely different environments. And then I got to thinking like, I don't know, like, is this even wise? Like, does this really have a future? Or is Twitter just like the top dog de facto of just like being around for so long? Like, does it matter that there's a competing site? And I was like, I don't know. And then I saw somebody kind of bring up something because I posted on Threads. I was like, where is everybody going? Like everybody's decentralized. I don't know where anybody is anymore. And somebody brought up something really interesting where it was just like, yeah, it's kind of like how the internet used to be.
Yeah.
Where like everybody was kind of everywhere. And I was everywhere else. Or there were different places. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It is kind of like almost like a forced return to not return to form in some way, but like a regression back to when things were a little bit more splintered and things weren't so unified and everybody wasn't in the same place. And that is kind of interesting that there are like different places that facilitate the same kind of purpose, but like end up with a completely different vibe and atmosphere. And I'm just curious about how you guys feel about this, whether or not you think this will take hold, whether or not there's a future for these platforms, or you think it's valuable. You can really take it in any direction. Gene, I want to start with you since you kind of segued into it pretty well. How do you feel about this weird kind of either exodus in practice or exodus in performance only? Like, what do you make of it?
I am glad that first of all, I'm not leaving Twitter at all. I'm going down with that fucking ship to the very, very last tweet, to the very last day. Don't worry about it, guys. This is not anything that I say that's critical of Twitter. I'm not leaving for my echo chamber or whatever like that. I love Twitter.
I do want to clarify. Yeah, I'm still going to be on Twitter. I'm still going to at least post when I have a new video on Twitter and stuff like that.
Yeah. As shitty as it is, I like the shittiness because Here's the thing. Like people are always like, well, why are people just logging on to be negative though? You know, why are people being so negative all the time? It's like it's almost like people are going online just to attack people, and like why has our society changed? Guess what? When I first got on the internet back in 1995, 1996, I did not use it for any other purpose, and I was 15 years old. Keep in mind, right? So a lot of a lot of the people on the internet right now are also 15 years old and acting shitty. I was 15 years old, and I had a mission not to look at porn, not to talk about video games. I really, really hated Dave Matthews Band. And I think that other people who like Dave Matthews Band should know that they like shitty music, and they have shitty taste in music. I like Dave Matthews Band now. I've kind of evolved past that, and I think they're okay, and I think he's a pretty cool guy. Right?
Do you know about the bus incident?
Yeah, of course the bus incident.
Oh, dude, one of the best. Do you know about this, Ben?
No, I don't.
Where like they had a tour bus and they had to empty out the septic tank on the tour bus over a bridge,
I
and
think
it ended up going on like a boat that was passing under it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Everybody should look that up if they're curious. It is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. That the fact that it actually happened is one of the best things ever.
That's crazy. It feels like it should have happened in a movie or something, right? It's ridiculous.
Right.
It's like a fairy tale, you know.
It's like a National Lampoon or like a American Pie, like, you know what I mean, like one of those like raunchy comedies where it's
it's
oh my
like a Police
god,
Academy joke or something like that, or like something like Johnny Knoxville would do, like, oh dude, like let's fucking dump a whole busload of shit over a fucking boat, whatever, you know. But Dave Matthews Band did that. You know? I really, really hate Dave Matthews Band all the way through college. You know, I was like the one guy who played guitar at my dorm. So of course, whenever I'm playing guitar and I'm like trying to play like Led Zeppelin or like The Clash or whatever like that, you know, a bunch of frat boys who come over to be like, hey, do you know any Dave, bro? Do you know any Dave? So I actually learned some fucking Dave Matthews Band just again to be that pickup artist, because a lot of the girls like Dave Matthews Band. So I fucking pretended to like Dave Matthews Band, and like I knew the songs and everything like that. And you know, I knew how to play Crash Into Me and some of the more complicated songs too. But I went online to intentionally to harass Dave Matthews Band fans. So I always have to remember that whenever I think like, you know, like, why are people so toxic these days? I think the internet kind of enables toxicity, you know?
Yeah, of course.
And the anonymity brings that. You know, I was anonymous. I call myself by a different name. You know, Jack, actually, my cat's name, Jack, has been my internet name for years and years and years. But before that, I actually had a different secret name, and it was from my favorite book at the time, back in high school, which is, of course, Catcher in the Rye. And there was a janitor in that book called Rudolph Schmidt, and I went by Rudolph Schmidt around the internet in the mid '90s, and
just tarnishing that janitor's legacy.
Yeah, basically, you know, he was a good character, you know. But yeah, I was just an asshole named Rudolph Schmidt going around telling people how much Dave Matthews Band sucks, and they would just get mad, and I loved it. I was like, this is great. I'm making people mad. I am accomplishing my goal, you know.
That's awesome.
So fast forward to 2020, whatever, and you see a bunch of people just doing exactly that. You know, I went on Blue Sky, and you know, sure enough, there are MAGA people signing up on Blue Sky just to harass people on Blue Sky, and you know, people are like, how could anyone do that? It's like that. As long as there are people will do that. That's the issue.
For sure,
as long as there are people and there is the internet, people will do that. Now, to X or Twitter, the everything app becoming such a toxic place, it is because like the moderation controls that have gone down. And it is on purpose to become much more of a 4chan type stuff, which is what Twitter is. Twitter is basically, you know, B and 4chan now, except that's where also mainstream media reporters and Hollywood actors and directors and pop stars also post too. They just happen to also post on the same forum that is like 4chan. And that's what's fucking confusing for a lot of people whenever they try to interact with Twitter and they're like, oh my God, look at this fucking toxic stuff or whatever like that. And it's like, you have to understand that we are in the toxic pool. That toxicity is here because this is the pool now. You can't separate that. So like whenever, you know, like I've been saying this privately to some people, but it's like you can't look at Grums and think, oh my God, that we have a national video gamer problem right now. You know, Grums is very, very, very much isolated. Grums' impact is very much isolated to the cesspool that is Twitter, the 4chan that has been created in Twitter. Grums' impact does not even translate to 4chan or even Kiwi Farms. I hang out in Kiwi Farms all the time, and Kiwi Farms is basically the new asshole of the internet where the most toxic people go to. They fucking hate Grums there. He has a whole thread that calls him a lolcow. He's a lolcow on Kiwi Farms, and they make fun of him there, and they call him racist slurs too. You know,
so they hate everybody on Kiwi Farms. Like,
I hate everybody on Kiwi Farms.
If you have a thread on Kiwi Farms, like they don't like you. You know, if you have any notoriety at all, they don't like you. You know, what I mean?
Basically, you know. So it's like, you know, like how you. Like when you highlight like a shitty, toxic, hateful post on Twitter nowadays, you have to realize that's like going into the shittiest part of 4chan, because there are different parts of 4chan that are good, that are okay, and that kind of goes into the broader point of like the internet being much more scattered, and being funneled back into these silos, because there are parts of 4chan that are great, but highlighting a shitty part of Twitter is like going into the deepest, darkest depths of 4chan and be like, I can't believe someone said this shit. Whereas like you have to believe that someone will say that shit because you went there, and you went to find the shit and get it there. The problem with Twitter is that the shit is always circulating really, really easily. That's why I see more deaths and people getting shot or killed on Twitter than I've ever seen in my entire life. On the internet, you know, it's crazy. I've never seen the more people getting shot or dead or blown up bodies than I have on Twitter in the last year or so. You know, so I mean that you just have to kind of adjust to that reality that Twitter has become like this really, really shitty place, and I think a lot of people just haven't really acknowledged that until I guess that now that they're starting to migrate to Blue Sky, where it is a lot less toxic, where it's like, I said on Blue Sky, oh, I'm going to Blue Sky, and everyone's like, yay, Gene, whatever, and all my friends are like that left Twitter from a long time ago are there. I saw a viral tweet that it kind of reminded them of like the finale to Lost, where you see all your dead friends like at the church or whatever. That's kind of how it felt like with Blue Sky, where like the Wendy's girl, the girl who actually was Wendy's, the one who went viral as Wendy's. She quit Wendy's a long time ago. She quit Twitter a long time ago because, you know, like she was a Wendy's girl, for fuck's sake, you know? And sure enough, she's just on Blue Sky, just hanging out and just having a peaceful time, you know? So it's like all my old friends, like the Pornhub, the social media director is there too, you know?
That's funny.
You know? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, you're here too. I haven't talked to you in years. That's great, you know? And so, yeah, I just think that that's just kind of what's happening right now. Well, I think that is a good point where it's like maybe the internet is kind of starting to unravel itself a little bit, because Facebook was trying to become like they did try to become the internet. You know, that's why the Facebook went into all these like developing countries and like helped start up the like internet services for them, because they want these people to think Facebook is the internet, not Google, not any other company or anything like that.
Yeah,
which is funny because when I first started on the internet, I thought Yahoo was the whole internet. Actually, you know.
Yeah, I think that I feel like I remember a conversation where like they wanted to be like the front page of the internet or something like that.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly. Like that sounds like something that I heard a while ago.
Yep, absolutely. But, I kind of bought into that idea too back in the day, where I was like, oh, Facebook totally has the capacity to just overtake the internet, and now it kind of doesn't. You know, Threads is kind of like shitty, like people don't really care about Threads anymore. You know, Instagram is, you know, just a shopping place now. Facebook is basically a shopping place now with just boomer memes and AI. So it's like, yeah, these places are becoming like Ozymandias' civilization. You know, that they're becoming, you know, dusty and kind of shitty and like fallen. You know. And it's what that's why Zuckerberg is so intent on like this metaverse like vision. Because it's like, okay, well, maybe that's either the next evolution for Facebook, so Facebook or Meta can overtake the internet. But that's why Zuckerberg was so all in it, because he wants to become like the god of the internet. He wants Facebook again, or Meta, to become the online experience. You know?
Yeah. I like it. Bring up Ozymandias is why that's a wild pull. It's totally accurate though. It says look upon my works, ye mighty.
Look at all the works that I've built.
Yeah.
What has happened? It's just this shitty place where people fucking hate each other.
That's probably my favorite poem that ever existed. I think I love that.
Yeah,
poem.
it's a great poem. It's one of my favorite. I read it like way before like it started being referenced in Watchmen or like Breaking Bad or whatever like that. But it was, it's one of my favorite poems. So
it's great. But yes, Ben, how do you feel about this? Everything that Gene.
I have a lot of thoughts about it.
Yeah.
My experience on the internet goes back, a long time, just like you guys, I'm sure. And you just start to see these things repeat themselves. Yeah. And in reality, nothing ever actually changes. Mm-hmm. And for me, Twitter is almost the exact same experience I've had for the last 10 years. I've been on there longer than that, but really paid attention to it for probably a decade. And I just I don't know, let me see here. I think I follow like 300 something people. Nothing insane. I follow almost 400 people. I've got about 4,000 followers. Nothing insane. But I just look at what the people I follow say. I don't really go into the For You that often. And when I do, it's like I see, either something really stupid and funny or something I don't want to see. Maybe I just scroll past it, or the Costco guys, which I also don't necessarily want to see. And so for me, Twitter is just like a curated place where I'm looking at the people I want to follow. And if I decide I don't like what somebody's posting anymore, I just unfollow them. And it's not like an echo chamber or whatever kind of thing. It's just like, okay, you're an idiot and I don't want to see what you're saying. Not because I can't take what you're saying or something. So Twitter for me has been a great, all these years has been a great networking tool, has been a great meme tool, has been a great, it's the place I probably have the biggest reach of any social media site. I've not really noticed a difference on the way I use it. Now I'm sure that it has changed for the average user or whatever, but the way I use Twitter, it's perfectly fine for me still. And I am on so Facebook, when I was the mayor of a town during COVID, during one of Facebook's most crazy times, when everybody was arguing and everything. And I was just like, you know what? And I was also a business owner. And I was like, you know what? I'm just only going to use Facebook now for business stuff. And it seems like that was not the wrong decision in the long run, because, and I barely use it at all now. Or actually, I don't use it as a personal account at all anymore. But that was just because of a very specific thing to me, not because of the platform in and of itself. And really, I haven't used a lot of other social media stuff in the last few years, but I don't know. I think this whole thing with Blue Sky is fine. I'm there. I'm an unclaimed username, whatever. But I think the thing I remember the same thing happening when Threads came out. Everybody was like, oh, it's so cool here. It's not like Twitter. And it's like, guess what? It's dead now. Or if it's not dead, it's a very select group of people. Oh, and guess what? Blue Sky, the reason it's not like Twitter is because not all the Twitter people are here yet. Pretty soon, it's going to be just like Twitter.
Oh, totally.
The same thing happened to MySpace. I remember MySpace. The same exact thing happened to it before Justin Timberlake, bought it in the 404. The same thing happened to, it's not about the places. It's about the people who are there.
It's about the people.
And as soon as the people are there, it's not the same. I'm telling you what, I've been on Blue Sky for I don't know, however long ago I got an invite and made my account. The number one post I've seen on Blue Sky is, wow, it's so nice here. Mm-hmm. I don't ever see anybody posting any actual content there. And when people do start posting actual content there, guess what? It's exactly the same thing as everywhere else. The number one plugin on the Chrome store right now is a thing that automatically posts your tweets to Blue Sky. Guess what? It's not going to be any different as soon as we get a user migration, or as soon as there are more users. And eventually, when people are only just doing the same thing on all these different platforms, it's going to go the way of old social media sites that no longer exist. And maybe Twitter will eventually too, and that's fine. Things can come and go and be whatever they are. But I really think that social media does for you what you let it do. If you choose to use it in a way that makes you happy, it's going to make you happy. If you choose to use it in a way where you've got to see what everybody's saying about somebody else, and then you're going to be miserable because you're probably already miserable. And that's just the way I feel about social media. And if you decide that I can't do this anymore, then just be okay with removing yourself from it and just exist in that way. I just think that it's all so overblown and over exaggerated. And I don't know. Am I saying that Twitter's not had any platform changes for the worst? No, but I think that whether they're well deserved or not, the politicization of the owner. So first of all, you had Elon come in, and a lot of people didn't like him because at the time you thought he was just anti-Democrat. Now it's that he's pro-Republican. So a lot of people don't like that. And then a lot of people didn't like when they took everybody's check marks away. And I saw so many people leave. They were like, I've had my blue check mark for so many years. They leave. And then guess what? They got no engagement anywhere else. So they came back. They were like, I'm leaving forever. They're back. They're all back. And now everybody's leaving again, but they're just double posting. And I don't know. I just think that the social media exodus is just as much performative as it is reality. If I see one more post of I'm leaving, it's like, I don't know. You used to see the meme all the time about I leave on Facebook.
Yeah,
it was like,
it's so annoying.
Do you just tell everybody? Do you stand up at the bar and be like, I'm leaving? I can't stand it here anymore. No, you just leave. If you really don't want to be there, you just leave. You still want the clicks on your way out. And by the way, so many people are like, I'm not posting here as much anymore. They're still posting there every day. I see the same stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's all dumb. And I'm like, use it the way you want to use it. And if you don't want to use it anymore, just stop using it and stop. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you're not owed a social media platform. Go exist
I
in
will
real
say,
life.
one bit of sympathy with people who quote unquote, announce that they're leaving. You know, like if you feel like that you're providing a service on that platform, like for example, Nibelian, right? Like I don't like the guy, but he announced that he was leaving Twitter, and it's like, yeah, well, you know, that makes sense for him because he did provide a service on Twitter. Like if Wario64 left Twitter, you might want to find out that, like, from him that
You want your people to migrate with you. That's different. You're a service.
Yeah, they also actually did leave. There's a lot of people who are just like, oh, I'm leaving, and then they're back like in a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about Don Lemon when he made a whole fucking press release about leaving Twitter. I'm like, fuck you, dude. Shut the fuck up.
That's crazy. Shut up.
I get announcing it, and it is still cringe, but like that is like a whole different level tier of cringe where you like write a press release with a fucking letterhead with your own fucking name on it, like anyone gives a shit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did see that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the thing that bothers me most about Twitter, and the thing that bothers me most about a lot of social media platforms, quite frankly, now is that like the big ones have been around so long that I don't really know what is accurate about the data anymore.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like when I see like, oh, you have X many followers, it's like, yeah, after like 15 years, like what does that even really mean? And so what's nice about Blue Sky is it's new, and anybody who's following me there is, I know that they're active. You know what I mean? I know that they're recent people. You know what I mean? They're at the very least people who are recently give a shit, which is like, that to me is like most important. Like even if my actual audience like shrinks like 90%, I'd rather have an accurate number of like who is actually like taking part in the conversation and actually like following intently enough to follow through on something like that. You know what I mean? But that's really a problem with all social media right now, is that like a lot of the big things that everybody's on has been around for so long that I think about a lot how many of my subscribers are literally dead.
Yeah.
Like actually like not alive anymore, just based on the fact that I've had my channel since 2007. You figure at least 100 of those people are fucking dead. Yeah. At least. But I don't know, because it's been so long, and like it's weird. But yeah, I think I'm mostly in agreement with you, Ben, where it's just like, I do think it's ultimately like, if you go into For You, your experience is going to be fucked. Mm-hmm. Which unfortunately, like for researching videos and stuff, For You is pretty helpful because I get to see like what's going on outside of I don't always know who to follow for every single story, or for every single viral thing. But it does kind of put you in a situation where it's like, damn, there's like, okay, I'm looking for a story to cover, and then here's a baby in a microwave, and it's like, all right, well, is there another site where I could get the same amount of research, figure out what is going on without having to see shit that I'm quite frankly just, I don't know, man. Like I'm not sensitive to that stuff anymore. I'm pretty desensitized to it, but I also don't like that I am.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I kind of want to just avoid seeing it altogether. Not because it bothers me, but because it bothers me that it doesn't bother me. I don't want to be reminded of that. But yeah, I do think it's largely performative. I do think even if Blue Sky is successful, it'll inevitably become Twitter again. Yeah. Unless there's another situation. I guess you could make an argument that like maybe the moderation tools there will be a little bit stricter and it'll maybe help in that way. But like, I don't know. I do think ultimately the tool that this stuff serves to me is just kind of getting an actual gauge on active people.
Yeah.
Or at least people who are active enough to recently, take notice, as opposed to like my 580 something thousand subscribers on YouTube where like I don't know if they even know that I have a new video out. You know what I mean? Like, because they probably didn't get a notification. I don't know how many of them are dead. I don't know how many of them are just like they lost their password. Because dude, I had so many YouTube accounts before I actually decided to like post stuff. I would like make YouTube accounts, subscribe, and then lose the password, and then be like, fuck, I guess I gotta make another one.
Right. And
like that kind of like, and also I'm kind of shadow banned on Twitter, which really fucking annoys me.
You kind of are, yeah. You're hard to find, actually.
Yeah, like I made a second account to try and mediate it, but that's confusing because sometimes I mean to post from the other one, and it's just like whatever, man. Like I don't know. It's nice to have at least one thing where it's just like, okay, I'm not shadow banned on this thing.
Yeah, I look up Chris, and I get Chrissy Teigen, Chris Brown, who I'm not even following.
If you look up, well, you're following me, so I might show up for you. But like if you don't follow me, like I'm search banned on Twitter.
Okay, wow.
And I don't know what that. I don't know why still. It's never been communicated to me why, but
somebody, I think it was Brad the other night, was talking about trying to post something for Summon Sign and saying he couldn't tag you or couldn't even find you, and he was following you.
Yeah,
I believe that you are, but I've never had a problem either tagging you or finding you when I've tried to.
But yeah, but that's what I mean.
I follow you, or you follow me, maybe too. I don't know.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like it's so inconsistent the way it functions. It's very much like YouTube, where it's been around so long that like it's like spaghetti code built on spaghetti code built on spaghetti code. Mm-hmm. So like I might be search banned for like most people, but then for some people I might not be because I don't know, maybe it didn't, when they refreshed the page, it didn't load the fucking Chris ban. You know what I mean? It's completely arbitrary and weird. But yeah, I don't know.
Does it bother you guys at all? I mean, and by bother, I don't mean actually bother, but the fact that Blue Sky was founded by the guy who founded Twitter, basically works exactly like old Twitter, and is now already gone through like, I don't know, 10 different rounds of venture capitalist funding. And like, that just seems to me like what exactly was Twitter. And so eventually, like they're just making new things to make money, well, obviously, but, and I'm all about capitalism, but they're just making new things to make money, which will then just inevitably have the same return.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion. And I don't mean monetary return. I mean like, the moderation tools might start out really strong, but eventually when you need more rounds of funding and you need more users, does that stuff start going away? I don't know. It's just the things I think about the future of like, if this is ultimately just about, if you had actually, this is a really bad example because Elon is this guy. I was going to say some really rich guy who just wanted to buy it for his own means. Wouldn't it be better? I don't know if it's better or not. But
that is Elon.
I just realized that what I was going to say is what happened with Twitter.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel like I just see Blue Sky being on the same, literally the exact same path as Twitter was at the beginning, with one exception that you have a domain name as your username instead of just a account, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that would bother me, I guess, if it was unique.
Sure.
But I think because it's just like how everything functions. It's just like, all right, well, why wouldn't this function this way? Everything else is this way also. So like, why the fuck? You kind of just take what you can get. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm fairly capitalistic too. I think capitalism has problems, obviously.
Sure.
I think even Colin and I probably have a lot of agreement there too, where it's just like, look, it's good, but like you gotta people will cut corners to make money. Like that's just objectively true. Like
Most
everybody,
economic plans have good and bad to them.
Yeah, but I think I think it's just an example of just like you got to make the best of the system you're in, I guess. And for me with Twitter, that's just like I can't have a good time browsing this thing. It's so annoying, and it's just so I don't know, man. It's just complaint. It's not even necessarily the negativity that bothers me. It's literally the complaining, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired. Shut up.
Yeah. It is just nothing but complaining, though, for sure. You know?
Yeah. And I feel like on Blue Sky, people are like, from what I've seen, it might not be true for everybody, but like the stuff, Blue Sky just seems like people are actually like posting. It was like, oh, they're like, I posted something about Stalker 2, and the engagement between the two sites is interesting because there's less engagement on Blue Sky, obviously, because there's fewer people there, but there's people actually talking about like the game.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to Twitter is like, I feel like is like it's almost like YouTube comments where like, who can have the funniest reply? You know what I mean? It's like an open mic night in the replies where it's like, who's gonna have the funniest reply, or like like when I posted my video, a lot of it was like we got a new Chris Ray Gun video before GTA 6, and I saw that same comment 50 times.
Oh my god!
And it's like, okay, yeah. On Blue Sky, it's like, I'm so glad you're liking soccer. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And it's like, okay, that's, I mean, it's definitely going to devolve at some point, but it's nice for the time being. We'll see how quickly it fucking falls apart. I would imagine probably in the next like year or two, if it even persists long enough to attract many people. I think there's a pretty limited lifespan on like how nice Blue Sky is to use. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you kind of pointed at a possible better future, right? Or if everything is just decentralized and kind of like goes back to the old internet, then, you know, we don't, you know, like the worst thing about fucking Facebook and like the most overused and I don't know, like the word, like a word that has no meaning these days right now is community, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And Mark Zuckerberg is always talking about the Facebook community, though, and it's like Facebook is not a community. It is a fucking like an ocean-sized dump of just human thought. That is not community. That is not anyone doing anything for each other. There's nothing about community about that. So there's no Twitter community either. It is just like a fucking just that Mad Max scene of people of everyone's climbing over each other just to get water to make the same fucking joke or whatever, right?
Yeah. It's I guess the issue with Blue Sky is that it is just trying to be another centralized version of everything. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like it's not like I'm all for, like I do long for like days like where like if you were interested in something there was like a site for it. You know what I mean? Or like it was like or like a forum for this specific thing, and you didn't have to deal with like random people who like it's so funny that Twitter exists the way it does, because it's just like you'll see like a post about Warhammer 40K and like how much people are like liking the game or whatever, and then somebody with like 1 million followers would be like, what the fuck is that? I don't know what are you talking about? And then it'll get like 4,000 like 5 or like 50,000 likes on that, but it's just like, what the like, leave them alone.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? That's their. It would be like if you were on a Seinfeld forum and you brought up you linked to like a Warhammer forum. It's like, what the fuck are they doing in this nerd? It's like, it's just like, leave them alone.
That's exactly it, right? Like these aren't communities. These aren't communities. These are different cultures altogether. You know, It's like dropping an Asian guy into a community of people who've never seen Asian people before, you know, and it's like how is that going to work out? That's going to be
it's putting people in contact with things that they don't understand at a mass level, but also granting them the anonymity to act on their worst instincts, which I think is like the worst part of really a lot of this social media stuff. Is like, it's one thing to be in like a, I don't know, let's say like you're plopped in like a multicultural kind of neighborhood or something, or like a multicultural city, and you kind of have to like, you're in places where you're like, oh, I'm not really comfortable, like I don't really know the ins and outs of like how all this works, and you know, different interactions and different cultural interactions. But you being in person and them being in person is like a massive, like, I don't even know what you would call it, like a massive like transition that allows you to like, oh, okay, like I'm kind of getting a feel for this. But like, imagine that exact thing, but like everybody's faceless.
Yeah.
And there's no accountability with how you treat people. It's like the worst. And I don't know. I think that's just like a kind of a natural byproduct of the type of website that Blue Sky, Threads, and Twitter are trying to be. Unless you like literally force people to like use their government IDs to sign in, which would, by the way, be a death sentence for any of these websites.
Yeah.
Then you're just kind of left with toxicity ultimately. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I will say it's going a lot better than I thought it would. Like I kind of thought Blue Sky would kind of fade a lot quicker than it seems to be, or grow a lot slower than it seems to be. So like that's interesting. But I don't know. I kind of think people are too ego driven, and they're like, oh well, I have 100,000 followers on Twitter already, and I really want that dopamine hit of like a lot of engagement quickly. Yeah. So let me just go back. We'll see though.
Yeah, I have a tweet up right now that has 114,000 likes, 116,000 likes. Just went up 2,000 likes in the past like minute.
That's crazy. I do wish there was an easier way for you to see your like top tweets. Like it's kind of weird that that's not something that you can just find. Like I feel like you have to go to separate websites to find that stuff, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah. Or well, if you try to sign into X or VO profile without signing in, then it'll just show like that person's like top tweets or whatever.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That was like
only lasts for like a couple seconds and then you can't scroll anymore. So it's not very useful other than like, oh, this is their most popular tweet, which is, the tweet I'm talking about is about iShowSpeed, and like I wouldn't call myself an iShowSpeed expert.
No,
or anything. But now it might be my most popular tweet of all time,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I think it's time for a career change.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You're gonna pivot into being an iShowSpeed expert now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was telling Chris, I'll happily talk about it here, but like his agent, iShowGene. His agent actually reached out to me this morning. So
because of the tweet, right?
So yeah, the iShowSpeed's agent. So we might have a chat soon. So we'll see.
That's super interesting. That's kind of the thing that it being around for a long time offers you, is that like you just kind of have this inherent built-in community there. I know we just said that community is a pointless word, but like in the context of like a lot of people using it, that helps, man. Get 114,000 likes. Granted, it's also really good for misinformation, which is why like my AI because that's definitely like, I think probably pound for pound, like the biggest tweet that I ever did was like the grandmother encased in resin. Because I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that everywhere after that.
Oh my God, I fucking hated it.
A lot of people believed it. The fact that everybody didn't the fact that there were a sizable amount of people who were just like, oh yeah, they obviously cut their grandmother in half and put her torso in a giant coffee table. It's like, man, we've got an interesting world ahead of us.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact that people believe that are just showing. I don't know. I mean, Colin is taken so far back by the fact that we have a literacy problem here in the United States or in the world, and I'm like, no, I think it's for real, man.
Oh yeah, it's definitely for like. Do you think that's he? I don't know. I actually don't know exactly how he thinks about it, so I won't make an argument for him. But like, I feel like a lot of people feel like it's. I'm not saying that this is him, by the way, but like I've seen people say it's like, oh, education in the country is like really bad. Teachers are really bad at their. Do you think it's like a teaching thing, or do you think it's like the fact that social media and like specifically like TikTok and things like that are so attention? Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like if I had to deal with TikTok or like the temptation of TikTok in school, it would have fucked me up entirely.
Yeah, I think it's part of that, but also I actually did read some research papers on this, and it was specifically the No Child Left Behind and. God, what is it called again? Because I was an education reporter.
Yeah.
And, behind.
I think I tweeted something like that. I think like a month ago, I was like, "There's a lot of No Child Left Behind ass takes on this website."
That's basically what it is, though. Like No Child Left Behind, the way it taught children how to read is that it didn't teach people how to read like the full context of like what a sentence is within like an argument or like a story or like the whole like they just taught sentences, right?
Yeah.
And they just taught people how to read a sentence within that context, and it was never outside of that, or they were never taught how to analyze it, because there's like a literal clicker. They're like, you have to answer in a certain amount of times, and all the kids will have to raise their hands and raise it. So it was always targeted towards SAT, raising SAT scores, and nothing else. It was always all about memorization and increasing scores, never about actually like understanding the context of like what a sentence is fucking saying to you. And that's why now we have students who are graduating high school and are top of the class and are going to colleges like Yale or Harvard, and the professors there are saying, we're getting students that have never read a whole book before.
That's so crazy.
You know, we will give them a poem and they can't tell us what the poem means. You know?
I don't know.
They can read it, but they can't tell
yeah.
us what the poem means, or they can't tell us what the study is about. They can't like hold that information in. And that on top of like social media and TikTok and Twitter and YouTube,
right. It's like a compound kind of.
Yeah. Like think about how that will fuck you up. You know, it's fucking me up right now as a 40-year-old.
Just one of those things is enough to kind of fuck you up a lot. So like the compound, and no, you're totally right. Like even as an adult, I'm like, what the fuck? I just wasted like 2 hours scrolling. And it's just like, what the fuck did I just do? What a waste. So, and that's as an adult with like a fair bit more discipline than I had as a child. I'll tell you that much. And so like, I can't even imagine how.
There you go. It was called Common Core Standards Initiative in mathematics and English.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and the funny thing though is that like when I was a reporter on Guam, I told you I was an education reporter. My editor at the time kept telling me, you have to push this. You have to tell people how good this is, right? You know why she thought it was so good? Is because both her kids were autistic.
Oh.
So they were learning all kinds of things through this method.
Sure.
But then there's also all the other kids too.
Right.
You know?
I think the thing when people say they don't believe, you know, that there's a lack of literacy, when people hear the word illiterate, they usually, you know, historically it has meant cannot read.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's more a matter of cannot comprehend now.
Right.
Because most people can read a sentence, like you said. It's a matter of, can you understand what I'm writing to you? That's a big difference.
Yeah. So that's why like so much of the reading. So that's why like when Colin is like, I can't believe it because we have to do so much reading on our phone. And it's like, yeah, all the reading on our phone is just like functional, you know, tap this or do that or reply this or that, you know, as opposed to we're not actually, you know, it's UI. It's not reading, right?
Yeah. It's not about
user interface. You're tapping things. You're still being a fucking idiot, you know? You're not actually being an intelligent human being, like engaging with like words and thoughts and philosophies and everything. You're just tapping on a glass screen and that's it, you know. And moving things around, you know, like a fucking child, you know. That's what we're doing.
You
know.
That's I don't know. That's frustrating to me because it's just like I don't read as much as I would like to read, but I'm also dyslexic, so it's kind of annoying. But like. That I've spoken to people who have never read a book before is wild. Yeah, and I'm just like I just can't comprehend that really, because I just don't know how you get through. Don't you have to read books for school? I'm pretty sure you have to read books and write reports. Like I remember having to do that. I hated it. I hated every fucking second of it. But you had to do it. I'm sure that must be a thing still. But I don't know.
When did you go to school?
I went to school. I'm 30, about to be 31. So like, I mean,
in the early 90s, right? Then.
Yeah, early 90s, early 2000s. It was late 90s. You mean late 90s?
Okay. Common Core started to really happen around like 2002 to 2003, and so you might
I was in school, like I was a young kid around that time when it got implemented.
I graduated in 06 from high school, so it was I missed that whole section of Common Core and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a little clicker that you have to like answer like at a certain amount of time or whatever, or otherwise you're fucked. You know.
Oh, I don't think we had the clicker. I don't remember a clicker. I'll say that. But yeah, I don't know. This veered into interesting territory.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, man. I guess I'm satisfied. I like when things kind of go off the rails like that. Not in like a chaotic way, but like in just a completely different subject way. I love that.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it all has to do with how stupid we're all becoming eventually.
Yeah,
So.
we can't stay on topic.
Well, that was our topic about how stupid people are becoming, right? And so I think literacy and social media are definitely intertwined together. I know that I know that I've read way less books over the years in the last 10 or so years, because I used to read a ton of books in before 2010 for sure.
Me too.
And then I stopped because I was like, I'm reading all these articles, so why do I have to read books, right? And then that was years of like my justification for that. I'm always reading articles, so why do I need to read books? It wasn't until I actually moved to DC where a lot of people actually read fucking books here, where I was reminded, books actually have to, like, they are a complete thought, and a thought is so complicated that you need a whole book to kind of express that, as opposed to just like a fucking article, which is like a TikTok version of a thought, so. TikTok version. I mean, the media has been part of the stupidification of it too. I remember when I was a journalist, I was specifically taught, Gene, if you want to write news articles, you need to write at a third grade reading level, specifically third grade reading level. And now look at the country right now. Most of the country can't read past the third grade reading level. Whose fault was that? That was probably us.
Yeah.
Because we're out here writing like idiots to idiots,
Yeah. Oh man, were you gonna say something, man? It looked like you had,
I was just gonna say, if you have any question about people's attention spans, go to like almost any YouTube video more than 20 minutes long, especially our shows. But in fairness, our shows are all really long. But all of them, it's like, where are the timestamps? Or I listened to this on 2x speed. Like, nobody can just exist. Like, they've got to know exactly what's in there. They've got to be able to skip around where they want. And I understand you don't want to waste your time with something you're not interested in. But then you have people who are like, I'm speaking specifically to LSM content now,
sure,
where it's like, where are the timestamps? I listened to this in 2x speed, that kind of stuff. And then those are always the people who are like, they didn't talk about this. And it's like, no, they spent an hour on that.
Oh my God.
You just missed it. And that's not like one or two times I've seen that. That's almost every episode we've ever posted.
The thing that's crazy about it is like the confidence to interact with something as if you've made sure. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'm watching this podcast and I'm gonna skim through it, and I'm not I'm not hearing the keywords that I want to hear. I'm gonna now comment that, like, why aren't you guys talking about this, and then leave.
Right.
That is bewildering to me.
Yeah,
or I love 5-hour episodes because I just turn it on while I'm at work, while I'm doing other stuff, and it's just background noise. By the way, why didn't you mention these 17 things that I'm really interested in?
Yeah,
maybe they did.
Yeah. I got that recently with my metaphor review, where I called it the smartest game of the year. And then people on Reddit were like, well, it doesn't say this about democracy or blah, 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 blah. And then other comments were like, did you actually read the article? Because everything, like, you just wrote a whole essay about nothing that Gene actually wrote about, Gene did not say any of that stuff. And he was like, yeah, I didn't read it.
Dude, it's astounding. The amount
you
that
just
people
made up a whole fucking shadow box argument in your head without even engaging. You just saw a word, got triggered by it. And then just made up a whole fight in your fucking head about it. That's insane.
Yeah, everybody's shadowboxing is a great way to put it.
Cyber psycho behavior. You have to. You people need to understand that.
Yeah,
that's from cyberpunk.
Shadowboxing is a perfect like, that is the best way that I've ever heard it described. That's perfect. Yeah, it's a lot of people just like fighting ghosts.
Yeah, you're just fighting. You're just fighting a ghost, a conjuration of your own mind because of something.
Everybody's out here fight clubbing.
Yeah.
All right, let's. Yeah, man, I love this topic. This is actually kind of like two topics in one. Kind of gotta maybe do a / literacy.
There you go.
But Yeah, and I guess we'll
People
go on
want to know where the social media starts and the literacy begins.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
put a time for this. Ben's
Yeah.
like, put a fucking timestamp for that shit too.
I forgot to do that.
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, who knows
but
when we started? But
we
whatever.
could do that.
I hate timestamps, so I don't care. Personally.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
For what it's worth, Ben, and dear listeners, I actually do appreciate the timestamps. So thank you. I actually
It's
do.
good.
I listen to the whole thing. I do listen to the whole thing, but sometimes I just want to skip ahead to the quote unquote good part, like a porn. You know, you don't want to.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Right, like porno. You know, you're just like I'm not really that into blowjobs, but I know that they're going to spend like 5 minutes of that as like a ritual. You know, and then go into it.
Right. That's like
no, I'm not really in like the blowjob mood today, so I'm gonna fast forward to.
That's like the trailers at the beginning of the movie, where it's just like, all right, let's go ahead and skip.
Exactly, it's just a formality. That's fine.
Formality. Timestamps are good for coming back to stuff if you're trying to remember, like, oh, I remember I listened to that thing, and let me go back and find.
They have their place, but it's not what most people actually use them for.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. I guess that just leaves us with Ben's topic. Take it away. I like this one too.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk about writer's block, and I've written a lot of stuff in my life. Of course, in school and during my master's and everything, I had to write a lot for work over the years. I've had to write different things, reports, investor reports, whatever. At one point, I was like shadow writing for a novelist who I did a few different parts on a few different of their books and like that kind of stuff. And I never really experienced, and maybe this ties in back into the literacy / attention span topic as well. They're all kind of connected here, but I never really experienced the idea of writer's block until maybe a few years ago. It was always very easy for me because I think part of it was because I was a voracious reader. And because I read a lot, I felt like I could write a lot. And I'm not saying it was all amazing, but I never had an issue coming up with ideas or spitting things out. And now as an adult, I find, or almost as a near 40-year-old man, I find more difficulty just coming up with words to say, coming up with things to do. And some of that is a attention span thing for sure. But a lot of it is a creative thing. And I've written articles for websites in the past, and I've had a little bit of like issues coming up with words, how to say something, but I never had really like ideas of what do I say here. And now I'm even writing like, resumes and cover letters and all that kind of stuff. And just, I haven't had to do that specific skill since 2010 when I went for my first job out of college. So it's like a whole new world now. And so I know that writer's block is a real thing, but I used to just discount it as like, oh, just think of something and write it down. Like it was so much of an anomaly to me until like the last 5 years or so. And so the reason I actually came up with this is because I was like trying to think of a topic. I had this on my calendar, like we set this a couple weeks ago, I think, but then I forgot I was going to be on. And then Chris asked about our topics, and I was like, I can't think of anything. Oh, writer's block. Like it just kind of came from that. But I do think it's an interesting topic for this group because I know that Chris, you've talked about some writer's block in the past, both with music and videos and everything. And Gene, you write for a living. I assume you've had writer's block at least at one point in your entire career. And I just want to hear more about you guys' experience with writer's block, how that's affected you, if it's ever caused like major issues in your work or anything. And then also like, how do you get through it? What's the breakthrough? Was there like a eureka moment? Is it just something you had to push through? Did you have to wait? That kind of thing. So I don't know that I have a whole lot to add here. It was more of I just wanted to kind of prod you guys about it and see if I can relate it to my own experience at all. But you guys can take this in any, I don't care who goes first because you both probably have something good to say here.
Yeah, Gene, why don't you? I think I might have to like write a little
Sure
bit.
Thing. I encounter writer's block all the time, at least once a year, and I recently just had one writing my metaphor review, where I was like, okay, I want to write about this very complicated and deep game, but I also want to tie it back to the election that we just had, which is a fair thing to talk about. The game literally is about election, and it happens in the same time and place, or the same time, and it released in around the same time in the game as the election. So tying all of that together was a bit of a struggle, and I really just kind of like stared at a blank document for like a good week, kind of, before I just kind of played the game a little bit more, and just thought about it a little bit more, and I read books. And that's the thing, as a writer, I always get asked a lot of questions like, how do you improve your writing? And really the only real answer is you have to read more. Read more things that you want to like emulate, or aspire to. Read books, read articles. I know I just made fun of articles, but like there's a lot of articles that you can read that can inspire you. Roger Ebert is my personal hero and inspiration. The whole reason why I got into games criticism in the first place is because Roger Ebert is the guy who like made film criticism mainstream. He used language in a way that made film criticism and film reviews accessible to the general public, and that's what I'm trying to do as a games critic reviewer. But I also, so I have to read a lot. For me, and I've talked about this a lot of times on publicly, but for me, I read a lot of other types of reviews too. For inspiration for video game reviews, especially, I pretty much never read any other video game reviews ever, because I don't think a lot of them are really written all that well, to be quite honest. And two, I don't want to talk about games, and even though the ones that are really written well, I don't want to talk about the games in the same way they do. I don't like IGN will spend 6 pages talking about a game, and and that will serve a purpose for a lot of people. I'm not saying that shouldn't be. I'm trying to do something different. That's my point. So what I do is I read a lot of car reviews. I think car reviews are interesting because, one, you're just talking about the same thing every single fucking time. It's a car. It's gonna perform the same function the whole time. But the important thing about a car is how it feels. And that's what makes video games so different from art criticism, where it's like, okay, well, film criticism, you're just watching something, but they never talk about how it feels, right? Mm-hmm. But a car review will always talk about how a car feels. So even right now, I just pull up a random review, the latest review on MotorTrend.com, and this is the review for the Mercedes-AMG GLC 43. And there's a great line right here that I could probably use someday, or that inspires me, where it talks about where's that line here? Let me pull it up real quick. Right here. Yet it's clearly a 4-cylinder. It's buzzy, booming exhaust, and digital cabin soundtrack don't sound great. And as reported, it has a coarse idle. Those are all interesting writerly words. And this is just fucking Motor Trend, This is not like, the car literature, blah, blah, blah. This is meant to be like, for example, like the Guitar World of like, for people who are into guitars, Guitar World magazine,
exactly.
For guitarists or whatever, it's like layman's like conversation, but that's a pretty good sentence for just a car. And so like a coarse idle, like could I use a phrase like that for a video game? Interesting, but it's still a good turn of the phrase where I do that.
And I also feel, Gene, like the coarse idle thing, like that specific word, all the words in that little phrase you read, like if you've ever driven a car, maybe even ridden in a car, but definitely driven a car, you may not have experienced those things, but they're spoken in such a way that you know what it means. It elicits a feeling. You're right.
Exactly. It's a feeling. And then so for people who have felt that before, then, it would communicate really well to the reader, so that's why like I use car reviews a lot. And I, food reviews, of course, the video games have a certain flavor or texture to them too. So I always look to that too. In terms of getting over writer's block itself, though, like obviously that helps looking for inspiration for other writing. Sometimes that doesn't work though. And what's frustrating for me is that I am a former smoker. I haven't smoked in since 2018, and I was vaping all the way up until 2022 when I had cancer, and then once I got cancer, I was like, okay, well, just cut out all nicotine whatsoever. But it was nicotine that really got me through writer's block, and so that's why the last 2 years have been a real struggle for me in terms of getting over writer's block. It kind of becomes like a psychological horror like mini game in my head instead of just like, oh, like let me look for other inspirations or reading or whatever like that. Like I actually have to like, I want to rip my brain out, because I can't smoke, the moment of writer's block that I remember most actually had nothing to do with my actual work or writing an article. It was my ex-girlfriend. Sorry, guys. I bring up my ex-girlfriends a lot, but they are pivotal moments of my life, and I remember a lot about what happened during my relationship with them. One of my ex-girlfriends had a store where she was a fashion designer, and she had a retail store where she sold like bikinis and beachwear. And, it's right by Waikiki Beach. This is the one that was the former beauty pageant queen, by the way, Chris. So it all ties back together. She was Ms. Waikiki, right? Right. So she wanted to come up with a slogan for her store called Angels by the Sea. If you ever go to Hawaii, go to Angels by the Sea. Go tell her, go tell her Gene Park says what's up and see what she says. But Angels by the Sea. I don't know if she still uses this, but she wanted a slogan for the store. So I was like at her house. And I was like, oh, slogan. I can think of something. She hated the fact that I smoked cigarettes, right? And I always hid the fact that I smoked cigarettes around her. But she knew that, I would come home smelling sex cigarettes. So she knew. So I told her, babe, can I have a cigarette? I will go outside. I will go on the roof of this apartment building. I will look at the night sky and I'll have one cigarette. And I guarantee you when I come back, I'll have a good line. So I did. I went up, had a stove, came back down. I was like, babe, I got it. Every day it's a beach day. And she was like, I love it. And she was like, it really worked, And then, so I don't know if she used that. She probably used that for some Instagram captions or whatever like that. But like that, like I needed to smoke to be able to think about that, like nicotine does relax my mind. So that's been a real struggle. I haven't been able to replace nicotine at all. Out of all the addictions I've ever had, nicotine is the only thing that I actually want to get back. In fact, I actually fantasize about my last day on Earth, because if I know that is my last day on Earth, like, oh, I'm checking out today, this is my last day on Earth, or like my last week or like my last few days on Earth, I fantasize about it because I know that is a time that I can easily smoke a cigarette, no problem, no problem.
Right?
I'm gonna be so fucking excited to die, just so I can get a pack of Lucky Strikes and just spark it up, just like fucking Big Boss,
right?
And it'll be good. But that's wrong.
So if
I
anybody
really
ever
want to
sees
smoke again, guys, it fucking sucks,
If anybody ever sees Gene smoking a cigarette again, just know his time is near.
Yeah, it's over. It's probably over. Yeah. But otherwise, I'm mega stressed. But yeah, it was so good for stress. So
Gene, I don't want to encourage bad habits by any means, and your limits. But have you ever considered like other nicotine delivery, like the pouches or patches or anything like that?
No. I have considered it. I've used it before. It never works. It never works.
Yeah. It's not the
nicotine
same.
patches. I've been on nicotine patches for 2 years, and I got off it. I'm like, fuck, I need a cigarette. It doesn't matter. It's the act of smoking and inhaling it and feeling the smoke in my lungs and then breathing it out like a fucking dragon. That is a specific experience that I need.
Yeah.
I don't need nicotine drip fed into me at like as a mouth. I don't need a nicotine sandwich. I need a nicotine cigarette.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man,
a nicotine sandwich would be amazing. Yeah, that's what I got to say about writer's block so far.
Yeah, man, this is such an interesting topic. I love it because I have countless moments of writer's block. I think it's incredibly common. One of the most frustrating things about writing in general is that like it doesn't look like anything. Yep. You know what I mean? Like I remember just thinking out loud like how it must look to your average person watching me like sit there staring at a blank screen for like 4 5 hours and write absolutely nothing and be like, look at this lazy piece of shit. And the whole time I'm just like, does that work? Does this work? Do I even bother putting this down on the page? Like, is this like it really is. I don't want to confuse the term difficult with laborious, because I've had jobs that are like laborious, right? Like I've done, like, I've built people's basements. I've built like done some like minor like construction help and stuff like that. And I've worked retail like on like during, you know, Black Friday and stuff like that. Like that shit's like, you know, on the scale of difficulty, it's like it's low difficulty but high labor. You know what I mean? Like it's like strenuous. In comparison, it's you know, building fucking. I would have to build the in Sears. I would have to like build all the like display model fucking what do you even call them, like the lawnmowers and all that shit. And I would have to like lift heavy boxes all the time, and it's like, God fucking damn it. So that was difficult. That was like laborious, but it was like, it wasn't difficult. Like I understood, like, okay, I'm picking this fucking box up. I got to put it over there. You know, I'm not thinking too much about what I have to do. But like sitting and writing something that you think is good is very difficult. It's like way harder, in my opinion, than like most of like the physical jobs that I've had. Like, not because it's more laborious, but because it's just like having to actually like think and settle on an idea is really fucking hard, especially if you're just inherently very self-critical.
Uh-huh.
You know, like I very few things are good enough for me, which is like really stupid. It's a bad habit that I'm trying to break from, but it's there whether I want it to be or not. And oftentimes I'll just stare and I'm just like, I'm trying to figure shit out and I can't do it. I'll go for a walk, maybe listen to some music, mostly like soundtrack stuff. But if it's not soundtrack stuff and I'm going out for a walk and I'm listening to like my mega playlist, my mega mix of like everything that I've ever even remotely enjoyed, sometimes a song will inspire a feeling where I'm like, oh, maybe like, what am I thinking? What does this song remind me of? Does it remind me of, it's like, oh, this kind of feels like film noir. And it's like, oh, can I theme a video to like film noir? Like, is that possible? And I'll like try and write it and it'll work. And like, that's kind of the thing. It's like, you kind of have to wait for something to hit you. Not that you're like passively not trying, or not that you're just sitting there thinking about nothing, waiting for like an idea to hit, but like you kind of have to sit there and not force it, but still kind of operate in the realm of like, okay, I'm trying to come up with an idea. I'm not trying to force something, but like, let me just like kind of exist in the world and like keep a lookout for things that I think could help me get this done. And granted, like for me, like what I write is very different than like, it's not like game reviews or something that's a little bit more like objective. Like it's really like, okay, here's a bunch of stories that did happen. How can I talk about these things in a way that's funny without being didactic, while also being like entertaining from like a genre perspective? I haven't done like genre stuff in a while, but like I miss doing like, I did a Wild West video years ago that I loved doing, and I did like a film noir like kind of detective video where like I was like, it was all black and white, and I was in like a vest smoking cigars with like whiskey, and it was fun because writing in that style is like, anytime you watch watching movies will help, or like, you know, I already mentioned music, but even just like reading some of a book will give you some new words. I'm a sucker for any time like I find a word that I've never seen before and like finding a way to shoehorn that in. Because I love especially insults that people can't obviously tell are insults. But yeah, like one of my favorite, I still remember like it was one of my favorite lines that I'd ever written for like it was like a film noir kind of detective kind of. I think the stories were like about somebody on InfoWars was talking about how Logan, the Wolverine movie, was actually like an anti-Trump story because the villain's name was Donald. Just so insane. But like the intro to that video is just like me smoking, and I was like, this can't be too serious. So I was like thinking of like what would like a Naked Gun kind of like a loosely like Naked Gun, and the thing that I came up with was like a poorly practiced surgeon. I was running low on patience, and like one of those patients, I was running out of time. And I was really happy with how that came out. And a lot of writing is literally delivery too. Like you could have a really bland sentence, but if you deliver it well, it's fucking top tier shit. Like I think Norm was like a king of that. I think early SpongeBob is a great fucking example of that. Where like there's so many clips from that show, it's like, it's not my wallet. Like there's just certain deliveries of like bland sentences that punch up something, that makes something that wouldn't otherwise be funny a lot funnier. And so that's part of the writing too. It's like, how do I say this? Or like, how do I deliver it? And like what types of deliveries will work? It's like, all right, I'm going to do 5 of them and I'm going to pick the one that I think is the best one in the edit. So like, and there's also like writing while I'm shooting too. Like sometimes I'll shoot something and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. Wait, hold on. I just thought of something, and I'll write on the fly and I'll throw it in, and sometimes it'll work. Sometimes it won't. But it's kind of, I don't know. It's very all over the place. I write a very weird type of content. It's like half Daily Show, half like JonTron, half like a bunch of other shit, and it's just like it's very difficult you can't schedule that kind of thing, in my opinion. Like maybe better people than me could figure it out, and I'm sure many people have, especially if you have like a team helping you. But like, you know, it's rough to schedule. You can't schedule inspiration really. Or you can't schedule like a creative boost in energy. Like that's all, like that all either has to come or it doesn't. And when it does come, I have to like grab it and not stop.
Yeah.
Because I'm very momentum. And I've said this before on other shows. I think even recently on Sacred. Like I'm a momentum driven person. Where like if I come up with an idea, I have to write it. And like when the second I'm done writing it, I have to shoot it. Or I shoot as much of it as I can. And the second I'm done shooting, I have to import it all and start editing immediately. Like I cannot have like the break between like, oh, I wrote it, let me come back to it tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm gonna hate everything I wrote.
Right.
I'm gonna just loathe it. And if I try to film it, it's like, nah, I don't even remember what headspace I was in when I was writing this, even though it's only been like a day. I don't. There was a delivery for this line that like I had yesterday. I don't remember it now. Fuck, what was it? This sucks. Scrap it. Start over. I've done that specific thing a million times, I think. Like where I've like written something and it's like completely done, and I just like I come back to it and I'm like, I hate everything about this.
Yeah. Yeah,
which is its own kind of writer's block.
Anytime I think of something, like specifically, I've done a very, very little amount, but some stand up in my life. And anytime I think of something that I'm like, oh, that's remotely funny, I record it. Not just write it down, I record it like on my phone so that I can actually hear the way I said it. Because sometimes even when you write something down and you just don't punctuate it correctly, you're like, oh, why was this funny in my head? But if you record it with your voice, you're like, oh, I put a pause there. That's why it was funny. You know, that a comma wouldn't do the justice of.
Yeah, it's how you say it is really important. Stand-up's hard as fuck to write also. Yeah. Like that is the most challenging shit.
It is like you said though like the way Norm would deliver a line though, you know, the sentence 9/11 was a national tragedy is not a funny line as right. in and of itself, right? Exactly.
Like devoid of any personal inflection, that line is very there's nothing anything about it. True. It's just a fact listed, but like it really is in the voice, in the delivery, in like the punctuation of a specific syllable. like he would always do this thing that I loved, which was he would say, even if it was grammatically correct, he would say a instead of an.
Yeah.
And so he'd be like, so I went over there and I grabbed a apple, but it felt like natural, like that's how he would just talk. It didn't feel like he was like forcing it or anything. And just that alone is funnier than I grabbed an apple. And and yeah, like if you want to emphasize a T at the end of a word, that changes. Like it's crazy. Like how there's a lot of subtlety to like making that stuff work. And even like, I mean, to be honest, like even like by the time I'm done with anything, I'm astounded that anybody likes it, because like I spend so much time like looking at it. It's like I settle on what I think is good, and then like but by the time I've already evolved past it, where it's like, I hate this. I just hope that other people haven't been watching this same video that I've been editing over and over again, and they're not tired of it the same way that I am. So there is like a bit of trust there too, I guess. But I don't know. Writer's block is rough. Especially when it's like the main thing that you do, because it's like, damn, am I even good at this? But it's also part of it. I don't know if you can write anything without. I don't know if anybody who writes has writer's block. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like that must be. Mm-hmm. And if somebody says they don't, they're fucking lying, clearly. Because like you can't possibly. First of all, if you're a writer and you don't have writer's block, you should have like 1 million books out,
right?
Or you should be a fucking machine. You should never stop working, because that's an amazing talent that you clearly don't have. But yeah, like I love this topic, and talking about writing is fun.
Journalism writing is different though for me. Like for most of the writing I've done, like criticism is different because it's a little bit more creative, right? And probably closer. Like Chris would probably easily write a video game review, and I think it would be really good. But like journalism writing, like I had no time for writer's block,
right?
Because someone died, so I need to write that, like someone got murdered, so I have to write that up. I can't like that, and that was like really good training for me in terms of like how to just push through any kind of writer's block, and that it's not an option. Shut the fuck up, fucking write. Like that's different, and that is something that a lot of game journalists don't get, because they haven't actually faced a real deadline before. Oh, embargoes on Tuesday. Oh, the embargo is on Tuesday, so you have to write it with me then. Are any lives in danger? No. Okay. Like when you actually have to like do like regular real journalism, then like people's lives are actually like not at risk, but are actually being impacted by this.
Right.
When I'm writing like a story about a traffic or weather, I can't struggle a week for how to write about the hurricane when the hurricane is tomorrow.
Right. You're not hung up on whether like how to artfully describe the hurricane.
How to artfully describe the category for like miles per hour, 200 miles per hour winds coming our way. No, you don't have fucking time for that. So like it really fucking pissed me off, and it really showcased like how different I am from the rest of the games media space. When people were asking me, Gene, how do you write or whatever, right? And it's like you can't think about the words or what words you're saying. You can't even care about your story. You just need to shut the fuck up and write,
Yeah.
And a bunch of games journalists like started quote tweeting me like, dear other writers, don't ever do this. And I'm just like, I'm not even fucking talking to you fucking losers. I'm actually talking to real journalists who follow me, who are actually like working at like the local stations, and they have to deal with like the traffic problems or the weather reports or like hurricanes or the murders and everything like that. People who have actually real deadlines to deal with,
That's literally what we were talking about earlier about like people like look at what the Warhammer people are saying in the Seinfeld forum.
That's exactly what it is, man. It's like, dude, I'm not even talking about fucking video games right now, man. I'm talking about like regular journalism, and it's like, but then that it happened on Twitter, with the same fucking the good virtuous journalists or whatever. It was fucking Ian Walker who did that, the guy who wrote the PS5 review about Donald Trump. So,
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I'm not even fucking talking to you, bro. Like you never even actually had a real deadline before, So it's like, yeah, the writer's block is not even a luxury for me or for a regular daily journalist. You just have to write. So that part of that like really helped me too.
I mean, surely if you're doing a something less rooted in like immediacy though, like because you write more than just journal, like you write more than just like reporting on like specific things that are happening in the moment, right?
Oh like, that's what I used to do. That's what I grew up doing,
right.
When I was young on Guam and in Hawaii too, like the tsunami is coming within 2 hours. I don't have time to write like about like the scene setting of what it's like or whatever like that. No, I have to fucking go up to higher ground because the tsunami is about to hit.
Yeah.
And that's what the story's about. Go up to fucking higher ground right now,
Yeah, you write, "Ayo, tsunami is coming. Get the fuck out." And that's the article.
That's the article. That's the communication that's happening right there,
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I can add that I haven't already said, but I think I'm having a bit of writer's block.
Yeah.
So
Definitely
A little bit.
perfect. A perfect
Yeah.
cap to the conversation.
exactly. Are you satisfied?
I am satisfied.
Cool. Well, there we go. Another episode of Constellation in the bag, I suppose.
I think the manliest constellation that we've ever had, honestly.
Maybe.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
it's
definitely
possible.
the manliest one. The most masculine one.
Well, Cog isn't here.
That's true.
That's kind of thing. It's like Cog, by himself.
Cog by himself would actually.
Yeah. By definition, every episode of Defining Duke is manlier than anything else that we did.
Mr. Manny plays. That's what we're gonna call him now. Mr. Manny plays in Cog. The man defining masculinity.
I mean, Defining Duke kind of works. I mean, even Defining Duke sounds like pretty. You know what I mean?
It sounds like they have the biggest dicks. You know, like the whole network. You know,
Defining Dick. Perfect.
But yeah, a Cog mailbag by himself would be the manliest podcast.
Yeah, on LSM for sure.
Even though if we had like all like 7 or 8 men on the podcast and not Cog versus the Cog mailbag.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the scales, you know.
It would be the scale. He would tip the scales. Shout out to Cog.
Shout out to Cog. But
I think runner up for that, by the way, was just Lockmort smoking on any episode he's on.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. For sure. Well, we did the tier of what is it? The most hated people. Like what is the scale of like most like the manliest to the least manly?
Oh, I don't want to do that. Nope.
Why?
Nope.
I think I'm at the end. I think totally I'm at the end. Like it's,
well, I think it. I don't know. I guess it can really vary based on the day and the interactions I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I
suppose. It's a little tough because like Brad has like beautiful hair too, like and he is like a stylist, like a trained hairstylist, you know. And he's also pretty too. So it's like I feel like Maddie, Chris, and Brad would like be around like that same sphere. So like that's how we can like not like make fun of anybody, and we can just all call them pussies, right?
Yeah,
Brad,
I think it's Micah clearly. Then I think it's me. Then I think it's Brad. Then I think it's I don't know. Would you say I think probably then it's Maddie and Dustin probably like interchange. I don't
Maddie
know.
And Dustin. Yeah. It's the same way that they have the same amount of hatred. They probably have the same amount of like because they both marry like their sweethearts for like their longtime sweethearts too. You know.
Yeah. I don't know. This is interesting. Maybe we can figure it out. We can figure it. We can put it to an algorithm. Yeah, let's figure it. We'll ask an AI.
We'll ask ChatGPT. Yeah,
ask ChatGPT who
I feel like I'm probably less manly than Colin because Colin like actually like mows his lawn and like has a wife, right, and like he has dogs and I'm just like a cat lady basically.
Yeah, but Colin also has to call a guy to come over and put his shelves up because he doesn't know how to use a hammer.
No, that's true.
So,
he is also that too. So he is.
So like he's kind of mixed, you know.
Maybe
he's right in the middle.
Yeah, that's where me and Colin might be in the middle. Like I'm just like a single Chad, but like he also has like a house, but he can't like really do shit by himself. You know?
Sure.
You see, that's the kind of thing that tips it in an interesting because I feel like of the people that I'm very handy.
But you're very handy. Like look at the fucking like look at behind you. Yeah, you built all that shit, right? So
yeah. Well, I've also just built straight up full basements and stuff like that. Like I know how to make things. Like I actually wish like I had space. Like if I had a garage, I think I would do like actual carpentry and stuff like that. Like I think I would actually build shit, but I don't really have the space or the desire to clean up a multi-purpose space after that kind of work.
I could see you as like a guitar maker, especially with that mustache, you know?
Oh, dude, I would love to build it. I don't know the first thing about building a guitar, but I would absolutely try. That sounds
like you're like a character in like a Robert Rodriguez film, you know, and you're like I made this guitar especially for you, you know.
Oh man, that'd be fucking cool. I would love to build a guitar. Damn it, not enough space. Anyway, guys.
And then Ben and Cog sit at the top of the manly list for sure. So.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's pretty safe.
Forget anybody? I hope we didn't forget anybody.
No. I think that's. I mean,
Dagon's like probably in the middle too somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Or worse, he does
Dagon,
cartoons, so I don't know.
Yeah, but his shins probably have more dents in them than any of ours combined
Hmm.
from all the skateboarding he's done over the years.
Oh, that's true. That's true. He is a skater, though. That is pretty Chad. So
maybe we all just land in the middle.
I think we're all just like
right?
Just like a little gay, you know.
Masculine fluid. How's that?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I'm sad I never skateboarded because I feel like I feel like I just look like someone who should have.
Yes, you do. I'm surprised. Yeah, this is actually the first time I'm learning that you've never skateboarded. Before.
I don't think I've ever set foot on a skateboard ever. Like I think maybe
if
like
you said that, I'll be like, oh, that completely makes sense. I've set foot on, like I used to skate, and nobody would clock that for me. But you know,
yeah, I should. I wish I could. I wish I did, to be honest, because I think I would have killed it. Not necessarily being good, but just like aesthetically, I feel like I would have fit perfectly in. Because I was like, even if I was terrible at it,
you're the skateboard model, actually.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was a Tony Hawk like default character for a while.
That's true.
I'm kind of folding back into that. My hair is getting a lot longer now, so I'm kind of back in that space. But yeah, like I never did. It's crazy too because I played all those games. I played the Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I played SSX, and I guess I snowboarded. So I guess it's not nothing. But I don't know.
Yeah. See,
anyway,
you're part of the ESPN Extreme Sports, lineup. Still.
Yeah. That's my ideal way to die. I want to snowboard down a hill and hit a tree like what's that guy?
Sonny Bono.
Yeah.
Sonny Bono. I really forgot that he did that. I can't believe that someone as legendary as him died that way. It's kind of like Dave Matthews Band just shitting on a bunch of boats.
It is fucking insane that is kind of I still can't get over the fact that actually did happen.
Yeah.
Like the Dave Matthews Band poured diarrhea over just a random passerby boat. In my opinion, on purpose. Because I don't know how you do it. It feels like something you have to do on purpose. You can't do that.
Yeah, it's hard to do that on accident.
Like, a boat's underneath. Should we do it? Why not? That's what happened.
Yeah. How does the timing work on that?
See, like I really have necessarily have no love for Dave Matthews. I don't hate him either. But I will say, there is not a chance Dave Matthews was involved in that decision. It was all the bus driver. Whoever the bus driver was, it was them. Guaranteed.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like, it's whatever. Dump it.
Yeah.
Really good timing though. Could be a gamer, who knows? Like,
could be a gamer.
It's got the timing right, like right when the circle like
right.
It was a fucking quick time event, that's what it was.
Exactly.
And he nailed it,
It's like you have to have just like one massive button on the dashboard that's like pour the shit out, and like they just smash it when it's
just on the ground, like an oil slick.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Yo, that should be on Clarence Thomas's bus. Anyway, let's get the fuck out of here.
Well, I think we're having a little too much fun again now.
So. Yeah, we're it's gonna go on for another hour of just rambling nonsensical. Thank you guys for tuning into another episode of Constellation. Thank you guys for joining me. Appreciate you. We're gonna sign off now, I guess. Ben, what's the day looking like? Rest of the day looking like for you?
I have a little bit of work to do. Gonna apply for some more jobs, maybe if I find any that are interesting to me, and.
Is this a gag?
Am I crazy?
Yeah.
Am I not? Was my mic not on?
Yeah, your mic muted itself for a second. That actually made me feel that I felt gaslit somehow, like intensely.
I talked for like 30 seconds there. How did you guys not say something in the meantime?
Because I thought maybe it was like a connection issue, and like, oh, maybe it'll catch up.
Oh, okay.
And then Gene wasn't saying anything. So
I thought you were doing a gag too, because I saw you reach over, so I was like, oh, he's doing this on purpose then.
No, I had to I sniffed real loud and I muted my mic, but apparently I had unmuted. I don't know. Anyway,
okay.
I just said that I have a little bit of stuff to do. I got to apply for a few jobs if anything looks interesting, if I can find something, and then just some stuff around the house.
You look like you were up to like some top secret shit, like real quick, just like beep. It's like, Jesus, what does Ben got going on?
Dude, at first I thought like, oh man, am I finally deaf?
Did it just happened all at once. There was no gradual.
Yeah, there's no gradual. It's just like maybe like God turned to me and was like, oh fuck, I forgot to update this guy's deafness. I'm way behind. I got his blindness settled. But yeah, I don't know. It's I don't even know what the rest of my week is. It's probably like a lot of maintenance. I got my apartment's not like, I don't let my apartment get dirty, but it's like, it's in a messy place right now where I'm like, there's a lot of papers on tables and like, like opened letters from like mail and like wedding invitation. I gotta just.
You could like, I don't know, you could make another video or something maybe.
I do have a video that's already filmed. I have to edit it. But it's not going to be like a crazy one. So don't, I mean, it'll definitely be out by the time this goes live. I don't know what the schedule, like when we're releasing these exactly is. But I would imagine that.
I think this is one of the holiday ones. So happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
We think.
I think
around that time. Who knows?
Could be if you celebrate it. Fucking if you don't, whatever. I hope you have a good one. Gene, what do you got going on?
This is the end of November, so I am going to be working on my top 10 games, which might be already out by now. So I'm working on that and working on this long-term investigation. Hopefully have it out by December. So you'll be hearing about that a lot soon. Hopefully. So we'll see. But other than that, though, I'm finishing Persona 5. So again, hopefully I'm done with that by the time you all listen to this. But I'm trucking along and trying to finish that game for the first time ever.
Nice. Yeah, I'm working my way through Rebirth, but now I unfortunately got very, very invested in Stalker 2 somehow. I did not expect.
That's kind of cool, Stalker 2.
It's my kind of game where it's just like it's Fallout coded, but without like the whimsicalness. Which I like the whimsicalness of Fallout, but I also like I kind of wish there was like a Fallout game that was more like Metro, you know, like a little bit more grimdark and serious, because everything kind of feels like wink and nod these days. So it's like it's kind of cool. It's janky as fuck though.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of issues with it. I'm a little bit more forgiving of it because I like the vibe, but I'm
the vibe
unfortunately
really good. I might have to check that out this holiday for sure.
I got to upgrade my computer though.
I want a good gritty shooter right now, and that you know, sometimes you're just in the mood for that, and I think Stalker 2 might fit the bill, and hopefully it'll be fixed by the time we all listen to this. So
yeah, ideally, yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode of Constellation. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time. I'll kill you.
Constellation is a product of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC and is proudly recorded in the USA. The show was conceived by and is directed and hosted by me, Colin Moriarty. My co-host is my brother, Dagan Moriarty. The show is produced by Last Stand's executive producer, Dustin Furman, and is edited by associate producer, Ben Smith. All Last Stand theme music is by Ramon Narvaez, and all of our graphics and logos are by Dagan Moriarty. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's podcasts, including Constellation, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest support tier, and we're infinitely grateful for your thoughtful and kind contributions to our independent endeavor.